All right, topical.
Right.
And we are here again for this episode. Episode 422. I'm Chris Hamstick Master, joined by.
RPG Maniac 05.
And Traptical.
So today we've got so much been playing. A middle segment about jumping off of bandwagons for games and things and other things in games.
I think we fell off of them, not jumped off of them.
RPG's all about falling off of them.
I am all about falling off of them. I scraped my knee.
Jump off, fall off. Either way.
In the news. So yeah, what you been playing? So I've only been playing one game this week. Surprise! I mean, okay, I guess okay. There's been like a few things I've been like dabbling in, but it wasn't like, oh man, oh, so much of it. It's just like the usual. You know, it's like some Great
Was it
Sport on the
Destiny?
daily. Some you F that game no. Some Monster Hunter World every day to get my free thingy, and then like also, I tried the Arch-Tempered Zora Magdaros. It didn't go well, so I was like, F that, I'll just do it during the event because it'll be every day. And then NBA, yeah, wow, I cannot talk. NBA Playgrounds, I got into the playoffs, so I'm in the playoffs first round. 1-0 on, I forget who playing in the first round. I think it's the Jazz, but on our way to the finals, and we will win because it's on like rookie difficulty. So it's like, how could I lose? Unless I'm terrible. I think like regular season, I think we had like a 10-1 or something, like record. It was weird because like I said, it was like 15 or 18 games, but I think that count. I'm not sure that counts the playoffs, but like, it was not that many games in the regular season, so whatever. False advertisement. But the only other game I've been playing is Red Dead Redemption, and I finally finished it. And I gotta say, I feel it has like the Guardians of the Galaxy 2 problem, where it's like twice the movie, but not twice as good. Like that's what this game feels like. It just feels very bloated, and you can like feel it collapsing under it. Well, it doesn't like collapse under its weight. It's just like there's just like so much there, but it's like it kind of. I mean, I guess it only starts to feel like too much because there's just like so much, and then like when you take away all the extra fluff that cause there's so much of it, like get down to like the meat and like just the the base of like what is there, just like the core. There we go, the core. It's like I don't know, man. It's not that it's bad. It's just not. It doesn't hit that like level of where I was like hoping it would be. I mean, it is still a good game. It's just not like I was saying last week. It like took six chapters too many to like get to the part where they say this country's not free anymore. Because I shared button it, I was gonna tweet it because I was like, this took like 6 chapters too many, dude. Because I mean, like I was saying last week, like by the time that happened, like I had already like been beaten over the head each chapter of like the theme. And like that's where they go into the story of like, oh, this country's not free anymore. We're outlaws. It's over, man. This isn't the way to live. Blah blah blah. It's like kind of goes on too long. Like 6 chapters too long. I'm not sure. I'm not sure like how long it should be. That's not up to me. I'm not the editor. Or whatever. Like just they couldn't wrap it up. I guess like they did just like it didn't. Or I guess I mean I don't know. I don't know. It was like on the one hand, it's like it's not as a succinct shortened experience, but on the other hand, it's like as an open world game, there's a ton of crap to do, but it's like I guess that's like the trade-off there is like you have all that stuff to do, but it's like you don't really need to do it. So it's like from all my torture from Destiny, I was just trying to play the story, and so that took the better part of a month because I've been playing it all month, and it's like the 24th.
Man.
So I don't know when I started, but I know I did start this month sometime. So it was a long game, guys, and I was kind of like I was like, wrap it up, dude. Felt very wrap it up. And then when the second prologue started, and I was like, what the F? There's 2 prologues? I was like, how many effing prologues are there? Like, do you really need to have like more than one? Like, I'm sorry, not prologue, epilogue. I was just like, dude, like they kind of ruined their legacy because I was like, Red Dead 1, effing perfect. It was like so good, and then like you get to the end, but the credits haven't rolled. You're like, oh man, what's next? And you just keep going. This one, it's like epilogue part 1. I was like, what? At first I was like, okay, maybe there's just like one in there like teasing me, and then it's like whatever. It's really weird too, because like at the certain part in the game, they like throw missions after mission after mission at you, so it's like you have a series of missions, so you don't like have a mission, go back to the open world and like do a mission again, or like just goof off or do whatever the F you want to do. It's like you do a mission, you do another mission. I think they only do like 2 at most, so it's like I feel like the epilogue should have been just that of like mission, the end, and then like, or just mission, epilogue section, and then mission, end, and not just like have the weird structure it is because it's an open world. Because like I guess that's like kind of the problem. It's like the structure was like that, so it was weird, man. Like the pacing towards the end and the middle. I mean, the pacing's not weird. It's just it goes on too long. So it's just like it kind of just doesn't. The delivery of it, you know, when you finally get to the epilogue, was it satisfying? Yes, but it felt very forced because of like like I said, like the collapsing under its own weight, and it's just like so much there. There's so much there. There's so much game. Like things have been building, but then because it's a prequel, and I know that like, you know, this is like I have a sense of like this is how stuff's gonna go down. It's like, all these characters aren't in the first game, so I wonder what happens to them. And then like the impact of like when stuff goes down, it's like not as impactful. It's like they kind of like just try so hard. They try so hard to like shove an air like multiple Eris moments down your throat and be like, oh, don't you feel bad? Or oh, how emotional was this? It's like not quite the payoff I was hoping for. It's just like it just felt too forced, and just not to say it's a bad game. It's just like, you know, it just bloated. Lots of bloating going on there in Red Dead 2. Just it's good, but it's like not as good as the first game. Doesn't achieve the greatness and like legendariness of it. It does some cool things because like, you know, it's like this being the second one. There's a lot of things that they took from the first one and they've basically improved on everything, a la GTA 5. But then also just like the stuff I said, like, you know, there's an actual. But then they kind of like, you know, didn't make it special. Like in the first game, they don't call the epilogue an epilogue. It's not like it's not chapter based, so you don't know that you're there. But in this one, like they just like up front, like just kind of ruin it. So it's like, oh, that's not as surprising. I mean, obviously stuff happens in the game where it's like, oh, okay, well, what's happening now? But then you get to the next part, which is like the mission thing I talked about, which is like another mission starts, so you don't actually like get to have like a proper transition. So it's like, oh, okay, that was kind of jarring, but whatever. I see what you did there. But it's not as like it's not as impactful as the first one, because like the first one, like the lineage factor was kind of cool, and like the whole like, okay, well, you're like the next in line, and like this is your story now, and like you keep going on here. Whereas like in this one they did, I mean, it's kind of cool like the way that they try to do it, where it's like, okay, I'm going to pass these things on to you, and like I have this condition, and like, you know, obviously the way I am now, I can only go so far, and then this is the end of my story, but you still have to tell yours. So that was kind of neat, but it was like not as good in my opinion. It's like, I don't know. I think I just like rated one so much that like I can't. I can't, like there's too much there, like too much baggage there. Where like I just love that game, and then like this one is good, but it's like, dude, Red Dead 1 just like blew my mind, and just like this one, although like it hits all the marks, it just doesn't. It doesn't like. I'm trying to think of the word. What's the wow, I was gonna say something, but I can't think of the words. But basically, it doesn't. What's the medical condition when like something happens to you and like you have, like you have like a rash or something, and like you scratch it?
What?
Chicken pox?
No, I mean like the sensation, like, you know, it's not like when you're itchy.
Itching?
You know, like what's the word when like that stuff is like doing that? You know, it's like I have this thing and it's just like and like I go to scratch it.
What?
Isn't there like a word for
Itchy?
that? Like, I think it's just a sensation. Like, you know, it doesn't achieve that like sensation of like the stimulation. There it is, like the stimulation of like that sensation.
That's
of,
not
like,
even related.
of, like my glowy orange spot of like when I get heavy and I play games, it just like wasn't that high, like as it was in Red Dead 1. It was still there. It was still good. Like, but because I was just playing the story stuff and not the side stuff. The side stuff was good too, though. But it's like, you know, you can kind of like I think it was also just like you could like draw the parallels of like this is the opposite side of the coin of grind and nowhere games, is like just a bunch of like, or like a giant open world with like a ton of stuff to do, but like it has like no meaning or real bearing really. So it's just like, go have fun, but it doesn't really have any consequence, I guess, after playing. Yeah, I guess that would probably be what it is. After Andromeda, because that was very open worldy, but then everything you did kind of had like a effect, or just like playing near and everything was very focused, and like it didn't overstay its welcome. Like you played through the 3 things and it was like that was it. But this one, it just kept going, and it's just like, ugh. But it's like it's not bad because it's like, you know, high production values and like the polish is there, but it's just it takes its time. It takes too much time getting to where we're getting to the end, and it's just like, man, that was a long game.
Maybe you
And
just
I'm tired.
expected too much.
That too. I had super high expectations, and I mean, yeah, I'm not gonna say it's bad. It's just not. It wasn't the. I have nothing negative to say really. Like, or I have very little negative to say besides the whole like it goes on too long. It feels kind of bloated. But besides that, it's like, you know, it does a pretty good job of being a good and fun game. Like, you know, hits all the marks with your horse and the red eye or dead eye or whatever. Oh, then after I finished it, I played a bit of Red Dead Online, but it's too similar to GTA Online, so I can't see myself really playing it a lot after like the bit I put in, because it's basically just you go do missions, but then they're match made with other people, so it's like if you're not playing with friends, it's kind of torture, because it's like, oh, a bunch of randoms, no coordination. Hopefully they go for the objectives. If not, whatever, because this one was like capture these dudes and then put them on your horse and then take them to the tracks or train tracks for the cutscene. But then like you have like a number of team lives, so if you know, if people die a certain amount of times, you have to restart the mission or just start from the checkpoint. And then like if they get away, same thing. So like that happened once where it's like a couple of them got away because it's like, you know, who's going after which horse. It doesn't, you know, it doesn't really have an objective market. It's like every man for himself, RPG style. So it's like we're not really going to plan
Hey,
anything. It's all chaos.
sometimes you got to do it, man.
So it's like I don't really like chaos in my cooperative experiences. So I'm just like not gonna really bother playing, even though there's a story there, but it's like not really one that doesn't seem like it's worth hearing. It's just like, oh, you're on your way to jail, and then there was the breakout, and you got free, and it's like, really? I mean, there's also some lady that's like, oh, well, my husband was wrongly killed, and you're wrongly accused, and we're going to find the murderer, and it's like, I don't really care about any of these characters or this premise, so I'm out. So,
Rude.
Red Dead 2, you're an experience worth having, but I don't think I would recommend it unless someone is like really into that series or just wants something that will occupy their time for a long time, because there's a lot to do there, like I said. But yeah, if you like the scroll on the run games where it's just like, oh, what's this thing, or oh, a piece of candy, like the Family Guy analogy, you'll have lots to do for a long time. But if you're looking for like a really solid narrative story-driven experience, did not hit the mark. I mean, that being said, I did just finish final season of Walking Dead, and it's just like, yeah, like RPG said, man, I've heightened my expectations, man. So it's like, you know, in that level, it's like I will gush all over you, but Red Dead 2, I will not gush all over you because you weren't there. Not bad, but it's like, you know, not as amazing as I was hoping. I just had too high Red Dead Redemption 2 high expectations. There you go. But that's all I've been playing.
Oh my.
Oh, I did have a Sweet Jesus beer too, so that did happen. I got my Sweet
All the way
Jesus
to
beer.
the end.
I couldn't check. Well, that's the thing, is like before the epilogue, I couldn't check how long it was. So, but then in the epilogue, I also could keep growing it. So it's like I didn't check it, but it was still long and it kept growing. So I was like, that was cool. It kind of I don't.
On the
And
beard meter,
I just stopped
what
grooming
was it?
the beard, honestly. So it's like eventually it would get there anyway. So I'm probably gonna go back and like do some of the other stuff, because it is like a fun open world playground, like to do all the challenges for like the hunting and the bounties. But that's like it for me. It's like that's all I care about, is like just hunting and the bounties. Everything else is just like kind of lame collectible stuff, like, oh, I'm gonna go fishing, or I'm gonna collect herbs, or I'm gonna go treasure hunting with these very obtuse and vague clues. And what else is there? Because I guess, yeah. I mean, there's a bunch of like other challenges besides that, like like there's a bunch of stuff, or not, I guess challenges, but like collectibles. Because there's like this whole, I forgot what it's called, but there's like a thing with all. There's a thing. It's like a giant dictionary. It's like, not encyclopedia, but it's got like one of those names where it's like codex. Well, not codex either, but it's like, you know, it like the name of it lets you know that there's a bunch of crap there that you can go out and do and collect and explore. So, oh, also what was kind of cool is like towards the end is like you get more into the like I said, I was hoping they'd do this last time. Like, I mean, they tried, but it kind of fell short in my opinion. Where like, you know, it would be a Rogue One scenario where it's like it's so close, like the setting to like the first game, since it's a prequel, where it just like perfectly transitions, and it kind of like leaves enough like it kind of leaves like enough space, so it's not like the perfect transition, but it's like enough space to where you have all those areas from the first game that you can actually go to, which is pretty cool because they're not there like when you first start the game, and then like by the end you can go there, but then it's cool because you can see them, but they're like all in different states because they're like under construction because like the time hasn't passed where they're actually settlements that like people like live in and stuff. So like some of them are under construction, or they're not as populated, or like one of them that's like a hub, well not a hub world, but like a main city from like the first game is like there's a cholera outbreak, so you go there and like everybody's sick, so it's like you can't really do anything. So
Cholera is not fun, guys.
so I thought that was kind of
By
neat
the by.
the way that they got around that. So I thought that was kind of cool that they have.
So wait, how far before Red Dead does 2 take place?
It starts years before. I don't know how many years because there's a bunch of time jumps in this one. Like I said, it takes
Oh.
its time, and I'll geez, I'll say like at least 5 years before, and then it stops basically. Let's say like a couple months before, before. It's basically like you get like by the end of this one, like you can see like where the events would take place of like where Marston got from like where he was at in this game to like the first game. So it's a pretty cool. But then I felt like they didn't take it far enough to where it's like you had that perfect transition of like, okay, well now you're in Red Dead 1. I thought that would have been like cool, like something cool they could have did, because like they kind of like left that gap of space. But then like there's a gameplay like reason that they did that is so you could have the open world to just like explore and like do stuff without like being hounded by the Pinkertons. So that makes sense. But it's like at the same time it's like, could add your Rogue One, like Rockstar. You could add your Rogue One, but you didn't.
Can you run into the protagonist of Red Dead 1 in that game, or?
He's in your
Yeah.
crew.
Oh, he
In
is.
the yeah, like this is the story of that gang. Like like in Red Dead 1, like you're hunting down Dutch, who's the leader of the gang, in this game, because like that's how you find out like what went down, because that was basically like hinted at the entire time in Red Dead 1. It was like, okay, well Dutch lost his mind and went crazy, but like we don't know what happened there. But this one is basically like all those events of like how that happened.
It's like how you got
and,
there,
what went
basically.
down. Yeah, and like man, I'm trying to think, is that the epilogue or the final? No. Yeah, the very end of the epilogue is really cool though, because like what happened in the first game is like, there's like all this hinting of like all these like things like happened and like people like fell out, and like there's just like this really bad split up, but then it doesn't go like all the way in the epilogue. It just has like this whole part where it's like, okay, well that's resolved, and like that explains that thing, and then it's like you just I guess you just never talk to him ever again, and you're just like F that guy. So but it's cool because like it just like shows how that how that happened, of like the basically rise and fall of that gang, and then like all the group dynamics within it, and like people's relationships within it, and like how they went on their own ways like after stuff went down and stuff like that. So you can like see where they are, like, yeah, just like the relationships and like how things got there to that point in Red Dead 1.
Yeah, prequels are tricky when you do stuff like that, because it's like, especially with like such a highly praised game like Red Dead Redemption, it's like anytime you make the choice to do a prequel to something, it's like, well, for one, we already know that certain things have to happen, and because I mean, otherwise the game won't exist in the first place. So it's like you kind of have to still somehow like make a compelling narrative around these things, but still make it different enough where it's just not like, okay, you're just going from point A to point B to get to the point where you were in the original game kind of thing. So because when you keep making the reference to Rogue One, which kind of like that is a prequel to, I'm assuming, the original trilogy, right? Because they have that Darth Vader scene guy. So it's like, in order to do things like that, you have to like kind of make things interesting, but still tell the story from like different angles, so that it's not like basically just, because I mean, people are gonna go into these always expecting like, okay, when is this gonna go? When is this gonna happen? When is this gonna happen? When is it gonna happen? When is it gonna happen? Because it's like, well, it's a prequel, so you're obviously like, when is this happening? When is this happening? Kind of thing. So it's prequels are kind of
there's like
a
something
tricky
there's something like
beast.
super weird like that happens in this game where someone has like a traumatic experience, and then you're like, well, why didn't they talk about this in the first game? But then like you get to this person, and then you see that like what happened to them when they were having this thing happen to them wasn't as bad as you thought it was be, or like they weren't in that type of situation that like you thought the typical person that had that type of traumatic experience would be in. They're just like, oh well, this Italian dude just like fed me a bunch of spaghetti. It's like, oh, okay, well, I could see why you weren't
It's
traumatized
okay.
because it did not go down the way I thought it went down.
Like,
And it wasn't as
it's
bad
like
as we
that
thought it
wasn't.
was.
So that's not
When we finally saved you, and you're like,
traumatic.
"Oh, it wasn't that bad, man. I just ate spaghetti the whole time." Haha.
Just get me delicious food the whole time. It's like, oh, I mean, hmm, I guess that wouldn't be traumatic unless you're like allergic to tomatoes or something. But it's like, hmm, go on then, I guess.
Spaghetti.
Yeah, because I mean, I've played games that have been like prequels to things, and like, because some things are intentional prequels, some are prequels with, I mean, after the fact or whatever. But it's like, it's always kind of a, you're kind of dancing on that line when you're doing things, because it's like, well, it has to connect to the game that the people have played before, or or but still makes sense without having like too many like obvious differences. But it's like it's hard sometimes. It's hard to do those kinds of things, because this is why sequels are easier, because the things that come before them are the prequels. So taking care of that. But yeah, prequels are fun sometimes though.
Yeah, I wanted to start up a new playthrough just to see like where, or like just to see like how good it transition would be. But then when I got to the second epilogue, I was like, oh, this isn't gonna be one of those. Or it's not gonna be like. I guess in my mind, I just like wanted it to be like Rogue One, where it basically just like is like a like the next frame in the next thing is
Basically
basically
gonna
like
be
a pickup
bit.
of like where it left off, and it wasn't. So I was just like, I'm not gonna bother. So
Yeah, it kind of, yeah, those kinds of things. It just really, yeah, you kind of have to just kind of do a good job for that kind of stuff. Otherwise, your prequel falls apart, and it's just like, well, this could have been something magical, but it wasn't.
it was kind of interesting though, because it basically took the allegory of the first game where it's like you're like the last outlaw, and like there's like the like fall of that, and then basically just this being like the gang culture of the time, and like the yeah, just like the outlaw gangs, which is like what happened to them, since there's not very many in the second game, or not, I'm sorry, the first game. So it's like, okay, well, those were a thing, but then the law came in and society pushed them to the limit, or not the end limit, but like they pushed them out of existence essentially. So 'cause that's like the crux of the whole thing I've been talking about the last couple weeks. It's like, oh, freedom's not free, blah blah blah, or not
We
freedom's not
really
free,
ever push outlaws out of existence?
friends,
Because I mean, it's like I don't think it works like that.
not
As long as there's laws.
gunslingers,
Yeah.
not specifically, not outlaws, literally anybody that breaks a crime,
Oh,
but just like legendary gunslingers of the West, or the Wild
I
West,
see.
or the Frontier.
Like that one guy.
Billy the Kid and all those guys.
Yes, those guys. I was like trying to figure out one of them. I was like, I know one of their names. I know it. Don't remember. But yes. Because I've seen some clever prequels done. I've seen movies do it actually quite well. But that's a story for a different time.
Oh, also, kind of another thing that bugged me or that irked me was like the whole Mexico thing in the first game. Like you go to Mexico and like the music changes over. Like so, okay, so like I talked about that one time I did it like at the end of chapter 3 or 5. I think it was after chapter 5. Yeah, it's after chapter 5 because it's when you come back. So it did it that one time, but then it does it like 2 more times, and I was like, whoa, dude, whoa! Like you can't like overuse the secret sauce. And like I said, they kind of just try to like super force it, where it's just like they overuse the secret sauce. It's just like, and one of the times it was like, and I think at the end of the first epilogue where I was about to go to bed, and I was like, dude, I want to play with this part, but then it's like
First
I need to go to
epilogue.
bed because it's like 4 in the morning, and I've been playing this like nonstop, and I was just like, oh, I'm not gonna have like the sweet experience when I jump back in and like the music isn't playing in the background like rising up, but then I'm like, well, all it really is just like music in the background while I'm doing stuff, so it's like, eh. And it's already happened twice in the game, so it's like I already don't expect so. And I know it won't just really like punctuate the moment like I wish it would. So after they kind of did it the second time, and I was like, oh, here we go again, and yeah, okay. So yeah, you kind of overused your secret sauce there, Rockstar, on that one,
Mm.
in my opinion.
So,
'Cause that-
did it
that's what
ruin
made
the
it so good.
sandwich?
First one is like, that's the other thing. Is like, first one, you go to Mexico, you come back, you have the sweet poncho. This one, you don't have like a ton of you like barely have. Okay, that's not true. there are times when you have like wardrobe changes, but you don't really get to keep the wardrobe that you change into. Like you have some like really sweet, like fancy clothes when you're going on this like gambly boat in like some other missions where it's like you're dealing with like the high end or high class society, but then you don't really get to keep them and like change into them. So it's like that's kind of lame. Whereas in the first game, you had like when you had your poncho from Mexico, I had that equipped like the rest of the game until like the next thing of my wardrobe change, and I was like kind of bummed out that was like that kind of happens towards the epilogue, but like outside of that, you don't really have your fancy clothes on and then keep them like you're like, oh, I'm an orderly uprights and gentlemen. But I guess that makes sense since you're just a career scumbag criminal outlaw.
Oh my.
So that makes sense. That was another thing for me, I guess, with this game is like just like the morality of the characters is just like completely antithesis of like who I am as a person. So it's just like
yeah.
I mean, I could still empathize with them, but like I wasn't really feeling bad for them when like they were on the like when things weren't going their way. I'm just like, well, that's what happens when you don't follow rules and laws. So
because you are a paragon and all your stuff. I forgot about that.
They're a bunch of renegades, and I mean, sure, maybe that's just me projecting that they're scumbags, but they do a lot of bad things like kill people and commit crimes and robbery. And
wait, but do they have a good reason to kill people though? Asking for a friend.
Only for like, well, I have to defend myself, so it's you or me. It's really not really. I mean, besides like the most basic of like, oh, self-defense. I mean,
because I had to point out that everybody is someone's enemy at one point. So everyone is someone's bad guy. So it's like, just because someone's quote unquote a bad guy doesn't mean they're a bad guy. I mean, you're gonna be, because it's all a matter of perspective. It's all a matter of perspective.
Because even like when the game starts, it's like you're basically running from a bad robbery that went south or went bad, and then you're like, oh man, let's move on from Blackwater because now we're wanted dead or alive there. Let's go to the mountains, and you pick up in the mountains, and it's like, oh, here we are. It's just, and like I said, every week it basically just keeps repeating every chapter of like, oh, went to the next town, ruined a bunch of people's lives and killed a bunch of people. On to the next town, yada yada yada. Wash, rinse, repeat, and then that's basically the cyclical waltz of the game of like crime, settle down, crime, settle down, crime, settle down.
But did they have a good reason to do it?
I mean, it's one of those weird things where it's like, the whole Obi-Wan, did you know my dad? It's like, from their perspective, but it's like, not the best perspective, dude. It's like, they're just like,
because
they're not submitting, or not submitting, or, what's the other word? Conforming, there you go. They're not submitting or conforming to like the law and all the rules and regulations that were brought in that era. So it's like in their minds they're just trying to like be free spirited and like all that stuff, like I said the first couple of weeks, but it's like ultimately that the consequences of that are the authority in place comes after you, and then then you become basically wanted criminals, and that's basically the consequence. So it's like,
because
they didn't really have a good reason, but they, in their minds, they thought they did, but they didn't, in my opinion. So
because even your homeboy Luke tried to murder his apprentice and then push somebody off the edge. He's supposed to be a good guy, but
the murder was not attempted because he hesitated at the last moment. Okay. But then
but the guy woke up with him hovering over him with his like whale.
He wasn't hovering over him. He was standing there.
This is happening.
And he had a moment of weakness. Ryan Johnson, whatever the F that means when you're a Jedi Master. You have a moment of weakness before you murder someone, because it's like you totally like didn't think that was a bad thing or like wrong because whatever. So
I'm just saying, he's supposed to be like one of the ultimate good guys, and kind of basically created a second Darth Vader.
I do not condone this argument using characters that were artistically infringed upon in their work by someone else that was like, I have this vision, so whatever.
See, so you only defend it when it conforms to what you want.
Whatever. That is a completely analogy I would not even try to graft onto this argument.
Classic Paragon.
Whatever. I mean, that being said, he did try to like start some whole like new empire of like bad people and like all that stuff. So probably should have killed him in the first place. I'm just saying, it would have solved the problem. It would have solved the problem.
Wow.
And we wouldn't have this whole first order nonsense going on.
This is coming from your Paragon, guys.
And he could have just like killed Snoke along the way, and then boom, problem solved. It's like Rey and me, restore an order, having peace in the New Republic. Boom, there you go. F Kylo Ren.
So, as long as they're just murdering in the name of good, it's okay then. Is that what you're saying? Wow. Wow.
It's called murdering bad people in the name of good, and those are both bad people. So yeah, chaotic good. It's on my Facebook profile. Kill one, save the rest. Every day. Every day. That's how I live my life. Yeah, RPG. I'm all for that. I'm about that life. Yeah. What?
But I'm the evil one. Okay.
Sure.
All
You
right.
sure are.
All right. Well, I'm like lawful evil at worst. I mean, at worst, I'm more chaotic neutral.
So yeah, that's that's maybe eventually Tropical will get there months later because it's a long one. So have fun with that Tropical, and we'll
Oh
discuss.
man,
We'll compare notes.
months is
That's the
too
other thing, though.
short.
That's the other thing though about this game is like with like all the polish. It's like graphically it feels like when you get to those parts at the end of the epilogue and like you're playing these sections of the first game, it feels very remastery because. Just like everything is just like so much better than it was on PS3 and 360. It's just like all the bricks on a building, or all the wooden planks on a fence, or a wooden house. It's like the detail is so good, and like their graphics are so good, and like like I said, like all the polish is so good. Everything is amazing, like graphically, and like all the bells and whistles stuff. But like when you get down to the story and then like nuts and bolts of that, man, just not as. I mean, I'm not gonna say it's not as good, but just like it kind of like retells the same, thing. It's spinning the same yarn. Doesn't take it in any direction. That being said, there are some cool parts where it does. It goes to like these places, but it doesn't like take it far enough, in my opinion. Because like there's like this one side mission. I think it's a side mission. I don't think it's a main mission. Where like you like stumble upon like some like slaves being held in the basement, and you free them, but then it doesn't really like go anywhere. And like there's this stuff with like the whole Native Americans being like fighting the army on reservation land. It's like that's a cool whole side thing. But then that's the other thing. Is like there are parts in the game where you like have choices, but I have like no idea like if there's like a whole like choice consequence. I don't think there is, but I'd have to like replay it or look it up online. But there's like a bunch of parts in the game where it's like characters ask you something and you have like a binary choice of like do this or do that, but it doesn't feel like it in the game as far as like that would have had any type of outcome on the story or whatever, except for something specifically, but it's super spoilery, so I'm not gonna talk about it. But it's like I want to kind of go back and play it maybe and just see if it shares anything, but that would take a long time, so it's like I'll just look it up. So yeah, they also like a lot of cool weather effects as well. There's like rain that looks really good, and like it'll be like lightningy, lightning while it rains and storms and stuff. And it just looks look at the horizon, and it looks so good. The draw distance in this game, so far you can just like see so far, and you can just like you're in the mountains, and you can like see the complete opposite side of the valley, like has like a mountain range, and just like you just stare at awe, just like oh, it looks so amazing, oh, it's so beautiful, oh, just like graphically it is up there, it is for sure. Like yeah, but graphics are everything, so.
LOLs.
By the 6th chapter, when someone finally says this country isn't free anymore, and you're like, well, I figured that out 3 chapters ago. Thank you for wasting my time, or not wasting my time, but like thank you for taking your sweet time getting to the part that I kind of already figured out, because you're doing your thing with your storytelling of like I know where this is headed, or you're not exactly having a lot of twists and turns here, getting to the main point. But yeah, I do appreciate the game. It was a fun ride. And I will jump back in to do some hunting and other challengey thingies. But yeah. Oh, also, you can just do a train job anytime. So it's like, that right there is like, a feather in its cap that the first game didn't have. It's like, all I wanted was a train job. And in this game, I could do a train job at any time. And like, that being said, I never did any train jobs besides like the ones in the missions, but there are like a bunch of them. Because, not a lot of variety in things you can steal in the Wild West. Like, you have stage coaches and carriages. You have banks. You got trains. Peoples and houses. It's like you're very limited, so it's like I How do you even know about that? Like I said, 6 chapters of that, man. You're just like, okay, I'm good. So yeah, Red Dead Redemption 2. Not a reinvention of the wheel, but a nice fresh coat of paint on it.
You don't paint wheels.
A nice new material that it's been bonded in to be rolled out the assembly line. I don't know. Something that you could use an analogy for.
Wow.
Or materials. I don't know things about making things, sorry.
Clearly.
So, RPG or Tropical? Did you really not play anything at all?
Somehow, yes. The week passed by very quickly. It was all spring break.
Oh, right.
Obviously not for me because I'm not a student anymore, although it still feels like it. So that all went by, and then there was like a bunch of birthday parties and stuff on the weekend, and then I was like, oh, finally Monday is my weekend. I can like relax. And then I looked around the house and was like, oh no, you guys have been here a week, so my house is really messed up. So I guess Monday I can't. So all right, how about Tuesday? I said Tuesday. So oh, I have a thing, and then I also have to like get ready for the podcast, and I got this grill that I had to assemble, and then it's like mowing season has started, and yeah, it was just like,
wait, you guys have a season
it's Wednesday
for
now.
Mowing?
When there is grass. When the grass is visible, that is the mowing season.
And it's not cold outside. And not
So like 4 months a year.
Oh, fun.
So, listeners out there in the Trioptical betting pool, if you're like, oh, I bet he finishes no games this week. I bet he doesn't even play any games this week. Oh man, that's like, man, yeah. If you bet he didn't finish any games, you lost to the people who said he doesn't play any games, because I didn't even see that coming either. And I was like, maybe Trout's gonna play a couple games. Didn't play any, so I lost.
He wasn't. He in fact was not.
I need to get a cut of these pools.
Well, no, because then you could like cheat.
Yeah,
oh yeah, I can't. Well, I wouldn't
stacking the decks.
throw matches.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know that.
That's true. I guess that's why they don't allow that.
Yeah, obviously.
Yeah, so I played nothing. I was gonna play Mortal Kombat 11. That didn't happen. World War Z sounded really cool, but that's not happening. And then Days
Still
Gone
no
comes
Sekiro.
out.
Just pointing that out. Just gonna
Yeah,
point that out
Sekiro is
there.
still
Neither is
wrapped
Games
up.
or Sekiro. Sekiro is the new God of War. I'm just gonna say that right now.
God of War.
Sekiro is the new God of War,
God of War is still
right,
God
he
of
still
War.
hasn't even.
which he also has not played.
I just thought he still hasn't even played that.
I think I did open it, but
I think you opened it. Wonderful.
Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
Yeah, you don't say. You don't say.
And I saw that announcement for like Persona 5 Royal.
Oh, the
Is that-
Royale.
Royale. And I was like, oh man. And then it said 2020. I was like, oh, there's still
have
time. Not a lot of time. Probably not enough time, but there is still time.
It's a long game, so get on that. Get on that.
Like last week, what did I say? God of War, Hellblade, and Final Fantasy 9. So the wait continues. Place your bets.
I mean, that's fine.
I'm gonna bet Chadwick plays at least 3 games, finishes none. Hopefully, that's mine. What are your bets, RPG?
He'll at least open one, put it in his console, and then he's just like, oh, nope, I gotta do something else. And then, yeah, be right to where he started.
So RPG says he breaks the string grab on at least one new release game that he has not broken the string grab on. I say he plays at least 3, finishes none. Guess we'll see next week. Tropical Bets, new secret segments on the podcast.
Yes. It's really funny because, yeah, like sitting here right now, I'm not sure which one of you is right.
Sad.
And it's me. So, yeah. All right. So, RPG, what have you been playing?
Well, I've still been playing Ninja Murder Death Party. Last week, while we were podcasting, I was playing it and I beat some bosses, so, things have been going well. But then I got stuck on the stupid secret boss they have, and so I've been trying to train my Sekiro so I can murder him. So that's been a majority of what's been going on in that game, because I don't like not being able to kill things. So, I have to kill things. So until that gets done, then I will continue training my Sekiro until he is, a full-on murder machine. But I'm a little ways out from that.
Do you have?
But I have materials to do so.
Sekiro training music like Aloy had when she had her focus on before she did that thing in the montage at the beginning.
Like, in what regard?
Like, is there just a music thing that you listen to when you're training your Sekiro, like Aloy did?
Yes, I mean, I have my own playlist that I listen to when I'm playing games in general. If it's not something that requires me to pay attention to a narrative, so it's like usually if I'm like power leveling or something like that, then I just have a playlist I just listen to while I do that. So that way I have stuff going on in the background. So it's kind of like a montage of training. Like they do in the movies. Like they do in the really old movies.
Really old.
But other than that, so I picked up Death Mark because it was on sale last week. So I started playing that. And so Death Mark is like... how do you explain this?
Please explain this game, because he tweeted a weird picture and I was like, what the F's going on here? Is this
I mean,
There's a lady with tentacle plant things in her bleep larps.
It's not
Very
tentacles, they're rose vines, and there's reasons for that. But that aside,
Oh, they
so
just
it's kind of like...
to be there like that.
I mean, where else would you put vines?
Not in those places, unless it was on purpose. And she's like, oh yeah, I'm down with the vines. Poison ivy style, yes.
That was not what was happening.
Well, then that's just...
She was actually dying horribly.
She didn't look like she was dying horribly.
Well, she did, because that was a flashback scene, because he had found her skeleton with all of the vines.
That makes more sense now. But now
So-
I'm even more weirded out and creeped out, because it's like, well, how did you get in there?
It's Japan. But anyways, so it's like so the game itself is like a supernatural mystery adventure game. So it kind of so the basic premise is that you're this guy and you have this weird mark on your arm. It's the death mark name for the game. And there's an urban legend surrounding it that people who have the mark die quickly afterwards. And this is supported by people. There's like at the beginning, there's these two girls walking down the street or whatever, and they're talking about their teacher who went to go study at the library or something one day, and then nobody heard from her for a while. So they went to the library and found her severed arm there, and she was gone and dead. So and then they made reference to the weird scar they saw, or that she had on her arm, which was the death mark as well. So that starts off the game, and then the protagonist of the game has said mark on his wrist. So he arrives at this mansion where he has no memory of why or how he got there, so he's just kind of just like there, and he pulls out a business card, goes into the mansion. It's all dark and everything because it's all weird and eerie and stuff. And then he goes up to a room and he finds a dead body in it that's covered in like various weirdness and blood and whatnot. But he said it smells sweet, so it's fine. So I guess that kind of like, it
would have to be an extremely strong scent.
Well,
Or was like the body not there very long.
Well, no, he smelled the blood too after the fact, but I guess like whatever was because there was like some weird like bouquet thing growing out of her chest or something. So it's like very strong flower scents or something. It was
Oh.
so he smelled that in the blood too, but then after the lights flashed or whatever, the body was gone, and he was just like, "What? Am I going cuckoo banana pants right now?" But he wasn't going cuckoo banana pants. He wasn't going cuckoo banana pants at all. Because when he went back downstairs, the doll that was in the chair started moving and talking to him, and she's like, "Hey, by the way, you're gonna die soon." And she starts explaining the whole death mark thing and how the body he found was of the researcher who was researching the death mark, and that she died of it before she was able to find a way to cure herself of it. So you are tasked with finding a cure for it so that you don't die horribly, because if you don't, then you're going to die horribly. That's kind of how that works. So the first chapter of the game kind of deals with that kind of thing, where you meet like a few other people who also have the mark, and then you kind of explore like one of the locations where they think they received said mark. In the case of the two kids that are in the party, they are, well, one of the girls is like a high school student, the other one is like an elementary school kid, but she mentions like this urban legend about this kid, that if you go to a staircase at night and then you look into it, you will see a kid, and he will ask you a question, and then if you answer incorrectly, you will die horribly, or you will have all the blood drained out of you if you're an adult, because he doesn't like adults. So upon
And then you don't die?
no, you pretty much die in every scenario in this, because that's how Japanese urban legends work apparently. But yeah, so so you go to the school team to investigate, and then you run into this mirror, and then you kind of like enact the same scenario that the girl was describing, with the going to the mirror and then having the ghost appear, and then he asks you the question. So when he asks you if you're pretty, or if he's pretty, you're supposed to say, I think you're supposed to say no, is how, because there's also like context clues to these things. One of the gameplay elements of the game is Deadly Choices is the name of it. And then so like the prompt comes up where it's like live or die, and then it asks, and then you like there's a series of questions or something that happens in the scenario that if you choose incorrectly, then you lose soul power, and then you'll eventually die because the mark will kill you in some way, shape, or form because of the spirit or whatever. So during this scenario, because you would have already heard the story from her during this, it's like you're supposed to answer no to this, and then after that he'll ask you if you're a grown-up, because again, like I said, he hates grown-ups. So if you are a grown-up, then you die, which you of course are, because you're a grown man investigating these things. But the way to get around that is to say you're just really tall for your class, and then you'll kind of just think you're a kid, and it's fine, just really tall kid. So you survive that encounter. So then basically upon exploring all of this, you find out that that these urban legends or these spirits are linked to these death marks. So the only way to get rid of them is to get rid of the spirit that gave you yours, which is pretty much the main point of the game. But during this, you're going to have to help other people get rid of their marks, because apparently doing so short or like extends your like timer kind of thing, because initially the main character is supposed to like die at dawn, but when he helps the kids he meets get rid of their marks, it extends his time slightly, so he survives past dawn. So basically the game kind of like plays around these urban legends that you are supposed to investigate, and then try to solve the mystery of your mark and how you got it. Now the problem is people who have the mark, they lose their memories as they get closer and closer to death, until they eventually lose all their memories, and then they just kind of die based on whatever ends up killing them after the mark. So you end up having trouble, dealing with that kind of thing, to the point that you don't even know your own name. So during your investigations, you have to make sure you take notes and all this stuff, so that way you remember the things you need to know before you face these spirits. And then one of the gameplay elements, in addition to the whole Deadly Choices thing, is also the so I haven't gotten like very far. I'm only like in the I only got through like the first couple of chapters or whatever. But you during your investigations, you find like various items and information regarding the spirits involved. So, for instance, you kind of find out the backstory of the spirit for the kid in the mirror, and it's a pretty dark one. So it's like, oh, that's pleasant. So once you learn about those kinds of things, it's supposed to help you confront the spirit, so that way you can break the grudge that they have, because each of the spirits apparently has died because of something that has happened in their life to create these curses in the first place. So unfortunately, this poor kid was kind of tortured and molested, and he kind of turned into a vengeful spirit. And then, you kind of have to destroy said grudge in order to save the other kids from this. And then in order to confront said spirits, it kind of like happens as like a kind of like a boss battle, because it's not really like a fight per se, because I mean the game isn't like an action game or anything. So basically you're supposed to use the tools that you found and the information you've gathered during your investigations to kind of to kind of like protect yourself from the ghost as you're fighting, or as you're kind of fighting them. And then once they get close enough, you're supposed to use an item that you found that works as their like weakness, which is supposed to weaken the curse and get rid of the whole grudge thing. So like for instance with this kid, you're basically supposed to put the lipstick on the ghost and have him look in the mirror and tell him, and so you can feel pretty again. And then it kind of breaks the curse. And you find out that the reason for this is apparently when the kid was like young or whatever, he liked to wear skirts and put on makeup or whatever, but his mother kind of was okay with this and she accepted him. But when he got adopted, because his mom like died, and when he got adopted, his adopted father was like very against these things, so it kind of like he abused him and everything, and then hence the whole curse thing happening. So basically by kind of enacting this this whole ritual, you end up purifying the curse, kind of, because you kind of put him to rest by letting him live out his final wish of being pretty. So there's that. But it's an interesting game, and I've always kind of been interested in like things like the whole urban legends and all that stuff. So that kind of like adds that extra interest for me as well. So it's kind of cool to kind of hear these legends and get to kind of investigate them and stuff. So, but yes, I'm enjoying it so far. It's a pretty cool game. So, yeah. But that's pretty much all I've been playing. So,
what's the story behind the sexy plant lady?
Oh, sexy plant lady. Okay, so. Right. So the kid in question, one of his science experiments had to do with plants. So it was like his major thing before like the whole bad stuff happened to him kind of thing. But and then so that kind of became a part of his like his curse thing, is like the plants and thorns and everything. And then the people, like his teachers and stuff, since they turned a blind eye to the fact that they kind of knew he was being abused and everything, because his adopted father was the principal of the school. So they kind of turned a blind eye to the whole abuse thing. So eventually, once he did end up dying and becoming this vengeful spirit thing, the plants kind of were like his thing, because that was like his last major accomplishment thing. So they became part of his curse. So the whole rose thorn things, because thorns are painful and not pleasant to be stabbed with, became part of the curse. And unfortunately she happened to be caught in a very compromising position when she was wrapped up in said vines, and yeah, that's why she was in that. But yeah, it's yeah
What are the odds?
yeah basically, yeah. Although it's possible that maybe she was just one of the sexy teachers or something, and it just kind of just happened to end up that way when she was getting murdered. So there's also that. There's also that.
Guess we'll never know. There's no Deathmark CSI.
There could be. There could be. One day. Because in a lot of times in these Japanese games, there's always like that teacher that's like unnaturally sexy, and people are always like calling her out on it because she's like quote unquote old, even though she's not really that old. But then they're just like, ha ha, teacher, you're trying to be sexy, but you're an old lady, ha ha, old lady. And then they get all bitter and angry, and stuff like that. So she was probably one of those. Possible.
Okie dokie. Well, that's the story of the sexy plant lady, listeners, if you're wondering.
Enjoy, listeners. Enjoy sexy plant ladies. And when you get an opportunity, you should look up some Japanese urban legends. They're weird.
They sound weird.
Oh, you haven't heard the half of them. Tropical may have, but you have not.
Do they all involve, like, ghosts and vengeful spirits, or just...
Kind of, because I think...
Or the Deathmark game?
I think the supernatural is kind of like a big thing over there, because it's like, a lot of the urban legends do involve, like, some kind of...
cleanse my wrath by making me look in this mirror with the lipstick on.
Basically, yes. Because there's actually a couple of urban legends that involve something similar, there's this lady that apparently walks that finds people who are alone at night if they're just happen to be walking on the street, and she's wearing like a surgical mask, and apparently she's very pretty or whatever, so if she comes across you, she'll ask you, it's like, do you think I'm beautiful? And then of course if the person says yes, I'm about to say exactly. So like,
Melina wins.
Basically, yes. It's like if you say yes, she takes off her surgical mask and reveals like this grotesque smile, because her mouth is basically cut from ear to ear, and then she'll be like, "So what about now?" And if you say,
"Why so serious?"
Basically, yes. And if you say yes, then she'll cut your mouth to be the same as hers, and if you say no, she will let you escape, but she will then kill you in your doorway when you get home.
Oh my.
So the only way to actually escape this is supposed to be to tell her maybe, so that way she's confused, and then you escape and get away.
This reminds me of an anime. I can't think of the name, but it had like a sweet opening, like music, and it was like this traveling dude. I don't think he was a monk. He might have been a monk. I don't think he was a monk. He was just like this dude. But then like there's like these demon/spirit people helping him along the way, and like one was this like lady, like RPG kind of just described, that was like in life she was beautiful, but then in the nether or the afterlife she was kind of decrepit and demonic looking. And then like some dude, I can't remember now, I have to look it up, it's bugging me. Man,
anime with the traveling dude. 6 million results yielded. And then some of them also involve bathrooms for some reason. I don't know what's with Japan and bathrooms, but that's also a thing.
Yeah. Man, that makes me think of Kuros, that part with the water goblins. If you've ever seen it, where there's like this reporting, or this camera crew, and they go into this bathroom to like try to lure out some water goblins, and they're like, water goblins love pickles, and they like do this thing, and then like,
what? Is this an anime?
Yeah, it's called Cross, and like they're like, come on, water goblins, and they start shaking the pickles, and then like, I think the camera guy lives, but like one of the reporter ladies gets like taken and like drained of all her liquids, because that's what the demons do in that one. They drain your blood and like instantly, and then yeah, Cross has to like come in and like rescue the other one. It was weird. It was weird.
I have to watch this anime now. It sounds hilarious. It sounds hilarious. Yeah, because there's another one about like a guy who like hangs out in women's bathrooms or whatever, and then he asks you if you want pink or blue toilet paper, or red or blue toilet paper, and if you say red, then he skins your back so you have red on you or something, and then if you say blue, then he strangles you until you're blue. So the only way to escape that is to just not answer and leave, basically.
No English.
There's this
No
other,
English.
there's this other one. I watched an anime club when I was in college called Haunting Junction. It was a comedy though, so it's not all creepy weirdness. But yeah, it's got like a bunch of weird spirits and humans mingling together and stuff.
Yeah, their urban legends are fun.
I'm trying to look it up right now. See if I can.
I can't tell you any specifically, but all the examples you've given are things that are like, yeah, that sounds about right. And maybe that's why I don't remember any of them.
It's like classic Japan.
And it's just like, yeah, bathrooms are scary. I don't know why, but they are.
Well, that's probably why, because they have quite a few of them.
Out specifics.
Yes.
Okay, I found the anime I was talking about. It's called Requiem from the Darkness.
Requiem for the Darkness. I need to watch that, because that sounds interesting. Wait, no, that's not the camera dude when you were talking about with the water goblins. That's the other one with the guy and the other people.
Requiem is basically about this spirit that protects the city, but he has to fight demons that have taken control of the city, and so that's the thing with that one. That's just like the one part with like the water goblins that made me think about the bathroom because it's in the bathroom. So I was like, oh, like in Chaos when the water water goblins come out and eat that lady. Oh.
Like, why would they be so afraid of bathrooms? Like, I don't understand.
I think it's because it's like when you're in the bathroom, you're sort of vulnerable, right?
Oh, I guess that kind of makes sense, yeah.
Oh, yeah, it's one of the
kind of getting caught with your pants down, so to speak. But that one's in the literal sense as well.
That or maybe some sort of like religious reason, since they are like, well, I don't know about the Shinto religion, but like maybe it's all purity, just like maybe some other religions that are just like, oh, well, weird things happen in the bathroom. The bathroom's bad.
Bathroom's bad.
And so it has just a bad connotation or something. I don't know.
I mean, because like if you think about public spaces that everyone goes to, but you're alone in them, like there's not too many of those.
Yeah. Yeah, it could be a vulnerability thing, because that would make sense.
And phone booths don't exist anymore, so ...
They do not.
Like if the surgical mask lady was walking around and like approaching groups, it would be like, I don't know, is she pretty? Discussion.
Like, what do you guys think? I don't know. What do you think? It's like, just answer my question already.
So yeah, like, and you know the thing is like, where do the urban legends come from? I think a lot of them nowadays are just like people make them up because it's fun, and so if you're thinking about, you know, where would be scary, like really normal places are scary, or you can make a scary story if you use like a really normal place as a setting, because it's like everyone can imagine being there, and yeah, like bathrooms are just like, oh. Even if it's a public bathroom, you're in there by yourself, basically.
Yeah, because it's not like you're going to be like, hey, come in the stall with me so we can, like, bathroom together.
I know there are dividers between the urinals, but, like, I'm a little bit scared here. Can you come?
I'm about to say, it's like, can you just hold my hand while I pee? It's like, we're not doing this.
Well, now I'm, like, super curious if, like, bathroom buddies are, like, a thing in Japan, where it's like, I gotta go to the bathroom, but I need you to come with me. Just stand there and look the other way. So I'm not alone.
Stand outside the stall and make sure nobody offers me toilet paper.
Yeah. I gotta go alone to the scary place. Please come with me.
Yeah, I think urban legends are just a cool thing in general, though, because I mean, yes, Japan has theirs, but it's like most places and stuff have their own just like variations of various things, just based on, I guess, that primal fear of, you know, being vulnerable to something that's like, well, this is an everyday thing, but now it's like, now you need to fear it. You need to fear it. It's like, oh, okay, this is fine. There's actually a couple of horror movies about that. American ones, though, not Japanese ones.
Normal things being scary.
Well, no, like about our urban legends about because there's like a slasher. Well, I think it's two of them. There's a slasher series about because like the killer basically bases their murders around urban legends.
Mm.
So there's like the one where like the girl is getting in her car or whatever to leave somewhere, and then there's like a trucker or something following her and like flashing his lights at her constantly. So she thinks he's trying to that he's trying to kill her or what thing. But in the urban legend, it actually turns out that he was trying to warn her that there was somebody in her back seat. So every time he would flash his lights, the person would like duck back down. So he was basically trying to protect her, but but because she thought he was trying to like kill her or trying to like attack her or whatever, she just like started speeding off or whatever, and then eventually she does get away, but then she gets killed by the person in her car in most of the versions of the legend. But so yeah, stuff like that.
Spooky. I didn't turn on my lights today.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So it's like really dark in here.
I apologize. I probably shouldn't be telling ghost stories then when you're doing this. It's like, so also, it's like, yeah. But yeah, no, because that Death Mark is like right up my alley. Because like I already love horror movies anyway and stuff, so that kind of stuff is like already like I already kind of like that kind of stuff. So then like to have like the game centered around like urban legends and stuff, it's something that I like. So it's like really cool to do that kind of stuff or to hear those kinds of things and whatnot. So it's fun. So yeah.
All
So I
right.
guess we're moving on,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Thought I've been so.
After the trip to Spooky Lane.
Sorry. Everybody go to the bathroom with your lights on. And avoid surgical mask ladies.
I guess we're talking about. Well, if you've listened to a lot of Aimless Babblesy, you know that roguelikes are sort of an automatic nope for most of us. And that got me thinking, it's like, well, that's interesting. Like, what are the stories behind sort of these kind of nopes? Even before this, I made the observation where, like, the biggest games in the world at the time were like Madden, Call of Duty, and stuff, and Minecraft, and like none of us play any of those. And I was just sort of got me thinking about when was it that we got off certain bandwagons, and just sort of the stories behind. I mean, Destiny is the obvious one, and we don't need to tell that story anymore because Tekken tells it every week.
Well, it took him forever to get off of that particular bandwagon. It's like,
but just like, what are some other stories about bandwagons that we've gotten off of?
Well, the first one that pops into mind is Call of Duty, because after Modern Warfare, the first one came out, and I got it on 360, and I was playing, and I was like, man, this is really fun. I would just get it every year, and then play it, and then be done with it like the day they came out, because the stores are super short. But then there's multiplayer, but then that was like back. I guess it's also kind of relates to like the whole PvP thing too, because it's like, that was back when I'd like actually play in like multiplayer modes and be like, oh man, let me just play this all day or whenever I have free time, blah blah blah, and just waste away in a multiplayer lobby, killing people all day long, and yeah. And I think what happened, well, like after like so many games, it's just like it kind of gets to the point of like, well, these campaigns and stories only are so good, even though I didn't play Black Ops 2, which would have probably brought me back in because the story on that one, like everybody says, oh, it's so. I mean, not let's like I guess like the quality thing, as much as the choice thing, because there's like a lot of weird branching paths in that one that I hear about, so that'd be kind of neat. But they are kind of all the same as far as the what's it called? what's the thing when there's like a giant man, there's the like the analogy that like Cliffy Blazinski says is like a water cooler moment. The like in a game,
set pieces.
Yeah, set piece. There's like so many like set piece like moments of like battles and fights and just firefights, but narratively and story like stuff. Like I think at that time that was like the post Walking Dead era, so it's like obviously the bar has been raised. And then since I've just been like so into Mass Effect for years and years and years anyway, I was just like waiting for more games like that that would just grab me narratively, so I could like play the story and be like, oh, this is cool. But like Call of Duty is just the same every time. It's just like you're a dude or a soldier or a person that's part of some military force that just goes and does a GI Joe for like 5 hours, and it's like, all right, we beat the bad guys, the day is saved, blah blah blah, and like that's it. And then multiplayer is basically just a. I mean, at the time I enjoyed it, but like looking back, it was just like a mindless grind of like. I mean, besides when I was playing like with my friends, like during the Gab nights and stuff, that would be fun. But it's like, you know, just that's also this like I think that's also like the like kind of the Achilles heel of Call of Duty is like since they were putting them out every year and they're like all the same. It's like you knew what to expect and you weren't really getting anything new, so it just got old over time towards like you just or like for me personally it's just like, you know, I'm done, I'm out. I don't need to do this anymore ever again, to just like grind away at my level, to like unlock guns, to have more challenges that are just really not adding anything to the experience, and just like, oh, I have this gun, I have this gun, I have this perk, I have this perk. And then I guess that's also another thing. I mean, I guess that did change over time, the whole perk system, because I didn't really play the newer ones where they changed that, and now it's even more different, where it's kind of gone more the MOBA style of like a hero shooter where every character is different. So in that regard, it's like I guess I'm glad I left, because it's not even the same as it was when I did like it, so I'd have no reason to go back anyway, because it's completely different. But then as far as like the story and the campaign, it's just a bunch of set piece battles or just stages with a bunch of, you know, fancy smancy, nothing substantially happening, just a bunch of explosions, shooting, boom boom boom. I mean, there are cool moments, like the whole, I guess it's your thing with like Modern Warfare, is like the arc was completed with like the whole Captain Price, Soap, Roach, all of them, like all that happening, like that completed. So I was like, okay, so I felt a sense of completion or absolution or whatever. So it's like I didn't really need to go back. And then like what was the one? Oh yeah, Black Ops 1. So like even though there's like a Black Ops 2 and a Black Ops 3, is there a Black Ops 3?
Yep.
So it's like even though like there's more games in that universe, it's just I know I don't really need to go back and play through them, because it's like ultimately Modern Warfare, that I mean, I will always like remember that story, but it's not like the top like even 50, I would say, for me as far as like game stories ever. It's just like a basic, like I said, you're just a bunch of dudes, dude bro shooter, you're in a squad of like some military faction going out saving the world. So it's like by the numbers. It's basically just like a by the numbers formula that they followed every year, and like after so many times of that, it's just you kind of, when they're not raising the bar, because looking back on that too, it's like, did they really raise the bar every single time? It was just more spectacle, as we'd say, like just more bigger and bigger, ridiculous. Like it's getting arguably to the point of like you can't believe it, because you're on a plane or a train or something as it's like falling apart and you're shooting people, and it's like, this is cool, but is it really something that could
Talent.
happen at all ever? Or how I mean, sure, it's a video game and it's like not in the realm of reality, but then it's like it kind of jumps the shark of like, really Call of Duty, like what is happening right now? This is kind of too hard to imagine happening. So
Maybe you're just that great of a soldier.
And then once the whole the payoff with Makarov and Captain Price and all that stuff was done, it's like, yep, I'm satisfied here. I've got the end of the story. I don't need to worry about the Black Ops one because then I'd be stuck for however many years it takes for that one to wrap. So it's like, you know what, I'm done. So I don't need to ever play this ever again. So that was me in Call of Duty. Someone else can go after that.
Well, I mean, for me with shooters in general, because I mean, my main exposure to them actually happened because of the Gap Nights. Because like when we were doing SOCOM back in the day, I was like pretty much because I had never really was like that into shooters to begin with. So my first real exposure to that was like SOCOM, which I never really played the campaigns of any shooter, so I didn't have that same experience Tekken did. So it was just mostly just me playing online and stuff and that kind of stuff. So that was fun for me because we were playing, and then that's why I continued like playing online shooters and stuff and the PvP stuff, mostly because of the Gap Nights and everything, and kind of hanging out with everybody. So once like the market kind of got saturated with so many shooters and everybody kind of like started like drifting because it's like,
Big
well, you
physique
can only
effect.
you can only do so much, where it's just like, okay, I don't know which one to get because, you know, there's so many. And while there were some people who would basically get every shooter that came out, so some of them were still playing everything, it's like I was just like at the time, like I can't devote my, like there's not one I would technically be able to devote myself to because it's like there's so many and everybody are playing like different ones. So it's like, which one would be the best one to get in this scenario in the case I do want to play? And so it's like, and then eventually, you know, schedule changes and stuff kind of prevented me from playing with during the Gap Nights and everything. And then once you start playing with strangers online and realizing how terrible some people are, it's like, well, I don't think I want to do this anymore. So, my whole experience with shooters kind of like fell apart at that point because I was just like, well, I mean, it was fun while it lasted, but now it's like I can't really keep up, and now it's like I don't really want to play online with strangers. So it's like, yeah, I'm gonna take a hard pass on that. So it's a brief return when Destiny was released, but then that game ended up not being what it should have been, and I kind of left that behind and never went back because it's like, I'm not doing this to myself. I'm not doing this to myself again. So that's kind of how like shooters went the way of the wayside for me, because I mean you can only like have so many out where it's just like, and like Tekken was saying with how they were releasing Call of Duty like constantly, it's like once the market gets saturated, it's like, well, it's just not worth the trouble anymore. So I was kind of like more or less done with like online shooters at that point.
It will not surprise you to hear that I don't think I've really fallen off any bandwagons.
I knew it. Tropical's
I
like,
knew it.
I haven't jumped off any bandwagons. I still like everything.
We knew it.
Yeah, I still kind of like everything. So I thought that I would try to look at when was it that I stopped playing the games that I acquired. And I think, because like thinking back when I first got the PS2, the first console that I purchased myself, at the time I got a bunch of games. I got Metal Gear Solid, Parasite Eve 1 and 2, Dead or Alive 2 Hardcore, SSX, Fanavision. There was like a bunch of things. And I finished those. And I also remember like buying Devil May Cry the day it came out, and then finishing that within probably a month, or probably less than a month. So there was a point where I would buy games and play them and finish them. And then when I think about it now, it's like I have this shelf just covered in PS4 games, you know, overflowing with PS4 games, and I have played maybe half of them.
This sounds like the perfect primer for our intervention that we are going to eventually do on Tropical, because, you know, we all three of us have addiction problems, and that's Tropical's. Is like, you know, he just likes all the things and he can't stop. You can't
I've
stop.
always
I
wanted
like,
to
yeah,
intervene on
I
someone.
like buying them more than I like having them. Much less playing them. Yeah, it's just so it's weird. So I'm trying to figure out like I think when it happened was when games got really cheap on PC. Whenever that was, suddenly,
Steam, probably.
yeah, yeah, on Steam, I would just like I had all of these games and not playing them became something like I just got used to not playing them or something like that. Just having them, and then yeah, like I guess over time it mattered less and less that I hadn't played them.
Like a dragon
And,
on top of all that gold.
I mean, it still occurs to me as like, oh man, I should play these every once in a while. But when I go out and I buy a new game, like it used to be like, oh no, maybe I wouldn't even think of buying new games. But now it's just like, oh, whatever, bunch of games I haven't played yet. But this one is here. I want this one now. And it just continues growing the backlog. I'm trying to think, like, did I have a backlog first? And then I stopped playing games? Or did I stop playing games and then that was where the backlog began?
Hmm. 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 I mean, I would think that you would have stopped and then the backlog came afterwards. So, because it's like eventually you would just start to accrue more and more games thinking that, oh, okay, I'll definitely play this one this time. And then you never do. And then you end up just, with more and more games until you just have a backlog just for the sake of having a backlog. And, now you
I'm
have
trying
like
to think.
tons of games you can't play. Or you can and you just don't.
It's like, was there a time when I thought, oh, I'm playing a game currently. I will pick this one up so that I don't have to come out later to get it after I finish the current one? Or did I never have that period and it was just like, I jumped past that and I jumped directly to, oh, I'll get to this one eventually. And then I just say that
Never
about
said.
every game.
That sounds pretty accurate.
Yeah, I think. Well, I guess a series maybe. Although I've kind of talked about it before, like Halo, I actually thought was really cool. I really liked the story, and then 2 was really awesome, even though it was a cliffhanger, and then 3 was really good, and then I got to 4, and even like ODST and like the sort of the spin-offs I thought were fine. But then when it got to 4 and it wasn't like, I can't even remember what the story of 4 was right now. Yeah, at some point I came to the realizations like maybe Master Chief's stories are the only stories worth telling in this universe. Because I've read some of the other stuff and I've watched some of the other stuff, and whatever Halo 4 was, like, they were not good.
Rude.
And so, like, what are they on now? 5? Is 6 the next one?
I think 6 is the next one, isn't it? Yeah.
6 is the next one. Yeah, so I haven't even seen 5. Yeah, Halo, man, Halo 3. I went to a midnight launch and I got the helmet one. The one that came with a helmet. And so, like, that's like a fan, right? I was a fan,
Or a
probably.
collector, because I bought that one when it was like super cheap, because I was like, that's
Oh,
cool.
I didn't.
I got it
purchase
launch
and
night.
like to collect things.
I mean,
So,
that being said, that was another time when Tekken collected things because he's all digital now. He's a changed man, unlike Gamer 12.
I mean, he's not here to
But
defend
yeah,
himself,
He
so
says
that's
it all
not
the
nice.
time. It's not true.
well, it wasn't just midnight launch and getting the collector's edition, which I think at the time was like it was a very expensive
Yeah, I was about to say, I'm pretty sure
one
that
thing
version
at
was
the
like
time.
hella expensive. So
You know, now it's like every game comes out with a $250 version, but at the time I
that's
think it was
just
like
normal.
100 and I want to say 130 for that whole thing. And I actually played through the campaign over the next like day and a half. So I went home after the midnight launch. I was working at that store, so I went home like an
Oh my
hour
goodness.
and a half after the midnight launch, and then I played until I think it was like 3 p.m.
Oh dear.
And then I was like, "Oh, I'm tired," and I slept a little while, and then got up and finished the campaign.
You Tekken.
So, yeah, I was really into it. But then, yeah, I think after that, just seeing some of the other stuff that they're trying to like build the universe with, it was like, oh, none of this is good. I think, yeah, maybe this story was the only story worth telling in this universe, and the rest of it is just garbage.
Oh my. Although slightly related to that, Assassin's Creed, man.
Oh man,
Because if we're talking about series that we fell off of, because that
I
one
remember that
went
on the
off
podcast.
rails.
Gamer and RPG just went to town on Assassin's Creed 3, and that affected me. Where like I didn't even like I had like bought I think the PS3 bundle because I got the Slim for it, but then like after hearing them like just completely trash it all the time, I played it for like a bit and I didn't even get through the prologue. I was like, yep, Gamer RPG, you're right, and I still get to finish the trilogy. I want to go back eventually, but you know, one of these days.
So that series, man. Now that one's like one of those things where it's like it had promise, but then it kind of just it just lost itself because it's like the first one. I mean, everyone seemed to like the first one. I wasn't like a huge fan of it, so but I was just like,
Oh
you
man,
know what?
I remember
I'll
defending
give
that game.
the yeah, I know.
I really
You
disliked the
did.
first one.
Because I didn't like it either. And I was just like, okay, I'll give the second one a chance because I mean, it's like even though I didn't like the first one, I mean, it had potential. So maybe they fixed those things, and two was actually good. So it's just like okay, so you know they're back on track. But then three happened, and I was just like, oh, okay, where did we go wrong here? Because you were doing you were doing so well, and then. Then you went and gave us boring characters. You gave us a really long, unnecessary prologue. It's just, and then like the gameplay stuff was boring. It's like you kind of just took so many steps backwards, and it's like, what happened? And then they decided to start releasing them every single year, and I was like, guys, this is not what you want to do. This is not what you want to do. And then on top of that, like the story kind of started to trail off as well to the point where I think they just stopped caring, because yeah, I was just like, okay, so I really have no reason to ever play this series again because you kind of made that clear. You've kind of made that clear, guys. So yeah, that was a very short-lived ride for that series for me because I was just like, I do not want any more of these.
But
So
without Assassin's Creed 3, there might not have been those sweet ship battles in Kingdom Hearts that they're like, hey, let's do that.
I mean,
That was like the only good thing to come out of that game. It's like they like use that in so many different games. And then like that they have like a whole pirate game that's like
Yeah.
PvP with pirate ships. No, it's just like they really took that one for all it's worth.
yeah, there was the
Assassin's
whole
Creed
really
4 is like
crazy.
all
pirate
about
thing.
pirates actually, so it's like
It is, yeah.
it's like just the one thing that 3 did good. Entire game around that.
They're like, let's just make a whole game about it because that's the only thing people liked. It's like, well, you should have thought about that in the
Like,
first
well,
place.
franchise is dead, but
It's too late. It's already too late. So, yeah. So when it came down to, I guess, the only stories we're telling technically would have been Desmond's, I guess, but then they went and killed him off. So there goes that plan. And then it's just like, well, the game wasn't even that good to begin with. So, yeah. Way to go. Way to go.
It's really crazy how this group has reacted to Assassin's Creed over the years. Because, like, the first one I thought was really bad. And Tekken, you thought it was, like...
He thought it was great because he
I
kept
did not
defending
think it
Yeah.
was great, dude. I just
It
thought
was,
it wasn't
like,
as bad as
good
everybody says it is.
enough.
it. It was
Yeah.
definitely as bad as everybody
It's
said it
not
was.
that bad, dude. It's
It definitely
I-
was.
it is
I
a
thought
very
Assassin's
unique
Creed
setting
1
and era, and like like all the like bells and whistles in that game are like what sell me on it. Like all the cool places you go to, they're like really distinctly different. Like if you Acre is different from all the like whatever the cities are. I can only remember Acre at this time, but like stylistically and visually and aesthetically, that game from an art perspective is amazing. And like when the horses come in, when like the English kings or whatever the F they are like come in and they're like got armor on them, it's like whoa, that's really cool. Like that's way different from like all the stuff in here because it's supposed to be taking place during the Crusades. So you can like see like what the Christians and like English people had versus like the Muslims and stuff. It's like oh, so you can like factionally tell like looking at them like aesthetically like oh that's,
Nah,
that's
bruh.
what these guys are. I thought that
It was
cool.
repetitive and
I'd
boring.
be really
and
curious
Just
to see Tekken play it again today.
yeah,
Is
he'd
the
probably be
remaster
like,
out on PS4?
he's like, you
'Cause
guys
I would
are
do
right. It is
I would
garbage.
stream that.
I
Like,
don't know why.
Look at this. Look at
I
these
don't
crypts.
know why.
Look at these buildings. Look at this architecture. I mean, sure, there's like only 3 variations on like the things in between story missions, but it's a pretty game. And
One of them
was-
is
it was not
literally
polished.
sit on a bench nearby.
eavesdropping, yeah. It's like,
He's like,
hey, Tekken
That is
likes
literally the
convenience and
thing.
easiness. Okay, so I'm not gonna complain about
that's
that one.
really the thing. So I was just like, oh gosh, this game is not anywhere near as good as people are claiming it was, and I'm mad I kind of fell into the hype for that because I was just like, this is just no, guys, no. So I'm actually not sure why I decided to pick up Assassin's Creed 2 in hindsight, because it's like, well, what if this would have
true.
turned? What if that would have turned into a dumpster fire? Because it's just a good thing that it ended up being better than it was. I guess maybe like they marketed better because it's like I guess like they did have a lot more features in 2
Oh yeah,
than
they were talking about
it's
that
like
at the E3 when they showed it, like all the stuff that they added, like the
Yeah, so
interactions with
they-
the crowds and stuff.
Yeah,
So
I
it's
think that E3 showing was really, really good, and it felt like it addressed my complaints with the first one. Yeah, I just think it's really interesting that the 3 of us like, okay, one was we were mixed on 1, and then 2 we were, I guess we were more.
We're more positive
all
on
okay
it. That's for
with 2,
sure.
but then,
I
like,
liked it.
that's when the sort of annualization of the series began, right? Because like
Yeah.
the next Brotherhood and Revelations were all like 1 year apart,
Yeah, and then they
and then I think you guys soured a little bit on those.
I didn't play Brotherhood and Revelation because I was like, I'm not playing these. 'cause
Oh,
they're not-
really?
They're not numbered entries.
Okay, yeah.
I
Those
know what
were
you're
the
doing,
ones that I
Ubisoft.
was
You're not
like-
getting your money from me.
I played one of them. I don't remember which one, but yeah, I
I think it was
started to
Brotherhood
kind of
'cause you talked about like sending in your assassins while you just like walked through looking all cool.
Mhm.
good times. But
Yeah, like those were the ones that like really got me onto Assassin's Creed, and then 3, like you guys just fell off, and then I was just like, oh man, Assassin's Creed, and so like I have all of them.
of course you do. Of course you do.
Except
Gosh.
for 1. I think I got rid of 1 actually. How many did I actually play? I played through Black Flag. I started Unity and Syndicate and Origins.
Man, it's funny because I think like after 3 I was like never again. But then like I ended up getting
Yeah.
4 because it was like on like a $5 flash sale or something on PS4, and everybody says, oh, the boat stuff's fun or whatever. It's like not that bad. And then I also ended up getting the one with Aveline in it on Vita or PS3 or whatever. And I
Is it
played through
Liberation?
that.
I think that one.
But then it wasn't like
Oh yeah, you played through the like standalone for Black Flag.
Oh yeah, the Freedom's
Freedom's Cry. Yeah.
That was neat. Because I was like, this seems interesting, so I played that. And then the Aveline thing, I was like, that wasn't that bad, but it was also very weird and not connected.
Yeah, that whole series
Yeah.
is just a mess.
It just, yeah, that's interesting. Our respective escalator rides for Assassin's Creed. It's like, oh, we're sort of out of sync on all of them.
Yeah, and then like after that experience and like what happened with Watch Dogs, I'm like, it's dead to me. Like I'm never going back to that because it's like I don't care how good people say 2 is or whatever. It's like there is.
That style.
It just feels like there's like no vision or cohesiveness. It's just a series that has like these are the things that it has. It's like it has hacking and it's open world and you go around and do stuff and it like has technology in it. It's like, but do the characters matter in between stories? No. Is it connected at all? No. Is it telling a cohesive narrative? No. Then I don't care because that's where I'm at with the type of games I play.
It's basically just rule of cool.
Dang, Watch Dogs. Haven't played through those either.
Do you have them?
Was it the open? Maybe it was the open world games that messed me up. Yeah,
Open
because
world
oh
games.
yeah, so early on, Grand Theft Auto 3 and Vice City. Actually, yeah, I got all 3 of them at launch on PS2, but I didn't finish all of them until they ported the PS2 one or the PSP one to PS2. And I finished that one, and I was like, wow, that was really good.
What?
And then, like, it was
Wow.
like a week, and I finished 3 Vice City and Grand Theft Auto
That is
San Andreas, like, all back to back to back.
that's insane, tropical.
But yeah, like, Watch Dogs I never finished. Watch Dogs 2 I never finished. I think I got Sleeping Dogs at launch. And to this day, I haven't played it. I
my
have
goodness.
different versions of Sleeping Dogs now.
Yeah, I think I double dipped at least on Sleeping Dogs because I got it on PS3 and PS4, but then I did eventually play through it, and I was like, yep, it's as good as people said it was.
Mm.
And then United
Oh,
Front
and-
got shut down. I was like, no, a second game of that would have been so awesome.
And then, like, Saints Row, I finished... What did I do? I think I finished the 3rd one, and I was like, wow, that was really good. And then I went and played 1 and 2 back-to-back. And then... yeah, that's kind of weird. That's what... I occasionally do that with open world games.
I just open world games are another one I think I kind of fell off of as well because it's like I remember like games like Fallout and the Elder Scrolls game because was it Oblivion the one? Oh, of course it is because they're called Oblivion Gates because I remember playing like the beginning of that game, and then like at the beginning when they're just like, "Oh, this is an Oblivion Gate. You need to go inside of it and close it." And then I looked at it and I was like, "Nope." And then I just went and started doing all the other stuff, and it's like it got to the point where I had did so much other side stuff. I actually had forgotten what I was supposed to be doing. So it
Yeah.
just like, I was just like, this is probably not a productive way to be playing a game because it's like I had joined guilds and went out on quests to steal stuff and I was just like, what am I supposed to be doing again? It doesn't matter. So it's like there's a vampire over there, so let me go do that. So it's just like I got so distracted and I was just like, I realized I don't like this. I don't like because of the type of like games I play. It's like I'm one of those I kind of need to like collect and do stuff if it's like there. So I start to like slowly get irritated when I have to like do these things, even though I kind of bring it upon myself. It's like I don't have to do them; they're all optional things. But it's like, but I kind of have to do them. So it's like I don't like open world games because you always stumble upon these things while you're doing other stuff, and it's like, well, I should probably go do that because what if it goes away when I leave this area? What if those crab bears eats that family because I decided to continue with my quest? I need to go stop them. So it's like the same thing happened when I played Fallout, and it's like I was just like I can't do this. I can't do this. So it's like it only works if like I guess like if the quest or whatever are related in some way to like something that's going on, where it's like it keeps me like understanding that there is that there's a narrative going on that I need to be focused on, because then it's like, okay, this kind of plays into the universe or the world or why it's happening. So it's like, okay, so I won't forget that I'm supposed to be doing this, but it's like this will kind of help me along the way or whatever, because it's like there's just sometimes where it's like it's too easy for me to get distracted when I'm like playing these games, and it's like I'll be doing a quest and there'll always be that one person who's just like, hey, over here, come talk to me real quick. And I was like, okay, what's up? And then he's just like, so fun story, I had this awesome quest you should go on. I was like, son of a. And then it's like, next thing you know, I'm out hunting ants that shoot fire because a town got overrun with them or something. And I actually don't remember what the main objective for Fallout was, now that I think about it, because the same thing happened with the whole Oblivion thing, where it's like I started doing something, discovered a side quest, and then that led me to another side quest, which led me to another side quest, and it's like it got to the point where I was like, I don't remember what I was supposed to be doing, but I'm in a completely different region now, so I guess I live here now because I can't go back. So I am also not a fan of open world games, so well, I mean, I guess Final Fantasy 15 was like one of the few exceptions, but it wasn't like as like side questy as like most open world games, so it was manageable.
Nier's also open world, kind of.
Oh yeah, Nier is too. Yeah, you're right. But I mean, there's like some focus in Nier too, and it kind of like some of the stuff plays into they enhance the story too, so it's kind of, it makes somewhat more sense, but it's not like overly so. We're just like, hey, look at this side quest. Hey, look at this side quest. Hey, look at this side quest. What about this side quest? Hey, remember that one side quest that you should be doing with this side quest, with the other side quest? It's like, guys, I'm pretty sure I'm supposed to be saving the world or something right now, even though I do want that cool cat hat that is in that shop, and I need to trade for it, so I need to do this quest. But still. So yes, I kind of like fell off of those. So usually that's usually like one of the buzzwords along with rogue. Like if I hear it, I'm just like, I don't know if I want this or not, because I was very hesitant on both Nier and Final Fantasy 15, but I got them because of their previous games, and I was like, I mean, Square Enix wouldn't screw me over that badly, would they? They would. Spoiler alert, they would. But so, I mean, that was mostly fine, but yeah, like generally speaking, if a game is open world, it's a good way for me to just be like, yeah, I'm not bothering, because ain't nobody got time for that. And it sucks because it's like a lot of times it's like, it's not necessarily that the game itself is bad or that I don't like it. It's just that I don't like being distracted is what the problem is. It's like I can still enjoy a game. I can still enjoy the game or whatever, and it's like, and appreciate how good a game is or something. But it's like, but when I'm like distracted like that, and then you make me basically not care about whatever is going on or in your narrative, then I'm just like, well, if you don't want me to care about it, then there's no reason for me to be playing this, is there? So then I start to trust, and you don't want that. You don't want that. So yeah, me and open world.
Not really ever on it because my experiences with it were like, that wasn't a fun time. F this crap, I'm never doing it again. Was first I played Spelunky on Vita or PSP, I think it was Vita, and just like, it was pretty brutal, dude. Like, I remember talking on the podcast, like, every week I'd be like, okay, well, I made it to this stage, and then I would like die and like have to like get all the way back there again, and then I'd be like, you know what, F this game. And then I was like, I guess this is what roguelikes are like. And then I played Rogue Legacy, which is another roguelike, which is basically the same thing. And I'm just like, oh, so this is the genre. You basically die, start over, and it's like the worst version of grinding ever. So it's like, I don't know why you'd ever want to do that, and like why you think this is fun, but it ain't for me, so never again. And I finished Rogue Legacy, and I was like, F this genre, F any game that's roguelike, or any type of element of it, and pass forever.
Yeah, I think my thing with roguelike was very brief as well, because it's like I had only ever experienced the one, and I was just like, yeah, this is not a thing. I'm not like we're not playing this game ever again, because it's like I think it was Baroque. That's what it was. Conveniently enough, name of all of things, on the Wii. So I bought the game initially because it was an Atlas title. So me being me, I was like, well, it's Atlas, so I need to support them or whatever. And then, upon playing it. I had never played a roguelike before, so I didn't know what that exactly entailed. So then when I realized that basically, like Tekken was saying, it's the whole you go through these levels, get brutalized, and rinse and repeat ad nauseum. And I was like, I don't like this. Because it's like you basically lose your progress every single time and have to start all the way over. So basically, you essentially need to get all the way to the end in one sitting, which I was just like, this isn't going to be a thing.
Or
I'm a
slowly
person.
grind
I have
yourself
stuff
up
to do.
really powerful, not in a fun, good way, like in a JRPG or something where it's not terrible
Yeah.
like that. Where you
Because it's
don't
not even
brutalize
like,
yourself over and over and over.
yeah, because it's not even like, and it's not even, exactly, it's not even fun. It's just like basically you basically play through, and there's always like some kind of weird mechanic that makes sure that you die in some way,
Yeah, or
shape, or
like
form, no matter
like every
what.
time you encounter an enemy, like you don't know what it does and it kills you, and it's like, oh, well, next time I'll know, but now I have to start all over from the beginning.
And make it all the way back to said enemy that killed you in the first place. So it's like if you get far enough, and it's like, well, now you got to climb all 600 floors that you just got through. So enjoy that grind. So yeah, Baroque was like one of those type of things where it's just like I had never played this thing before, and then it's like it already was a semi unpolished game to begin with, so it was just like playing through it, it's like the game didn't look very good, and then it's like the environments are kind of bland, and it's like, and like combat was just not fun on top of that, and then just to have to keep on going over and over again, I was just like, yeah, this is not it. This is not it, Chief. So I was like, F this noise. Although strangely enough, to end up liking the Souls games, which have some elements of that, but to a different degree, because it's like you don't start all the way over. It's basically just between checkpoints or whatever. But it's like to have to just, oh gosh, that was just horrible. Because it's like sometimes you would think you would make progress, and then all of a sudden it's just like just some random thing. Like in that game, it was just like a floating fish or something one time, which really pissed me off. So I was just like, okay, I'm not doing this. I'm not doing this anymore. You could take your stupid flying fish and shove them right up your happy hole because I'm not playing this game anymore. And yeah, F this whole genre because F it. Just F it. So I just, yeah, I don't see the fun in the genre, but to each his own, I guess. And then also the levels changed too, I think, because they were like procedurally generated. So it's just like, so now it's like, even though you may have learned from what might have killed you, it's like LOLs because it's all different now. So it's like it doesn't matter. It's like, oh no, this is fine. This is all fine. So yeah, it was just, yeah.
Yeah, and like both Spelunky and Rogue Legacy, I think, are like somewhat popular. So I was like, who enjoys these things? Who punishes themselves like this? This is not fun. This is like, what? How did this genre become?
Masochists enjoy it.
And what people have made it become that? Because you're ruining my hobby. But whatever.
Actually, I am curious. Thought that was a good idea. It was just like, okay, guys. So I got an idea for a game. Hear me out. What we're gonna do is, we're going to build this entire game. The player probably is not going to see most or all of it because, you know, every time they get to a certain point, we're just going to throw something random at them. Something that will just kill them. Just kill the crap out of them. And then when they do, they have to start the whole game all over. It's like, oh my gosh, that's genius. And then we can just make the game super short. But the problem is, because they'll never be able to actually get to the end, we'll still have our money and we'll be okay because they'll never see anything. So it's like, oh, this is just wonderful. F you, sir. F you and your creation. So yeah, I am actually kind of curious though of the how that genre come into existence because yeah, do not want.
So Tropical, have you played any roguelikes lately that you want to gush about and be like, oh, well, it's not that bad, guys?
No, those are on my to-do list because, yeah, they seem hard. So those are further back down the list. Now, I guess finally for me, and this is more speaking of like my actions rather than like what is in my heart, like MOBAs. I still want to play them, but I think I've my actions are sort of like I've kind of fallen off.
There's the
And
MOBA,
yeah, and
and
I
it broke
think what it
us.
was Paragon getting shut down. Yeah, it kind of broke me.
To say goodbye.
It got shut down, and then I was like, wow. And I think I played Heroes of the Storm maybe once or twice after it shut down, but it wasn't the same anymore.
Yeah, because I remember like playing a bunch of MOBAs around that time because you were talking about. I was like, I want to see what these things are about. So then I just downloaded all of them because why not? So it's like I had Heroes of the Storm. I think it was Dota is one, two, is that one? Is that something?
Yep.
I don't remember. And then it's like Smite, which was garbage, and then and a couple of other ones, But yeah, it's like Paragon was like the most fun one for me. It's like the hours and hours we spent playing that game. We're just like,
know.
oh. And then just for it to kind of just be taken away like that, I was just like, well, I'm kind of crushed. I don't want to feel like this again. So I never played another MOBA again.
Yeah, like I guess it feels like every time, every time I play a different one, it reminds me of like, man, that game was super fun, and it's sucky that it's gone now, like entirely. I can't even. I mean, I suppose I could go back and watch my recordings and stuff, but like there really isn't another game like that out there. And yeah, I too have played Smite, and it was just like, this does not compare favorably.
Also, isn't today like the anniversary of it closing down?
Is it?
I think so. Or
My
at least,
gosh.
or somewhere around. Yeah. Because I remember April being the last time, and I was like, well, we're going to have to play the crap out of it before they shut it down, because this is it. This is it. Started playing with random characters and doing all kinds of crazy stuff. It's like, I have nothing to lose.
It's crazy. But yeah, like thinking about it, I feel like, yeah, I do want to play more Heroes of the Storm, but I actually have not done that. So I think that sort of counts. I've fallen off of the MOBA bandwagon because they took mine away.
They did. They really did.
Took it. And they gave it to Fortnite.
F you, Fortnite, and the horse you rode in on. Or the bus you rode in on, I guess. That's how that works. So now battle royales are a thing, I guess. So, there's that. So hopefully that's a bandwagon everybody gets off of soon, so we can get back to, good games. But
No, it's good. Well, so have either of you played Battle Royale at all?
I played Fortnite once. You know how that went.
I haven't played any battle royales or MOBAs. I mean, I did play Paragon with you guys a couple of times, but it was like the only person wouldn't shove about it. I was like, fine, I'll try it. But then I was like, yeah, no, man.
It was. I don't think it made any sense to you
It did not, because I didn't know what it was doing.
in
And then
the
it was like,
short few games that we played. Yeah.
It's one of those things you kind of have to learn in order to really get into it. Because like when I first started playing, when Tropical first introduced me to it, I was just like, I don't understand what's happening right now. I don't know what's going on. I don't know if I
it
like
was like-
this.
Myself, it was like 10 hours or so before I understood. It's like, oh, I think I know how to win now.
so
And
it's
then
like,
it
my
began.
time.
I did not understand it until that point.
Yeah, because I really didn't know how MOBAs worked to begin with, so it was weird to like kind of play the genre of games. I was like, I don't know what this is, and I don't know how to actually play or anything, because like I've heard of them before, obviously, and then Tropical was talking about them, so I was just like, okay, cool. But then I was just like, when I actually started playing them, I was like, I don't know what's happening. If this is a thing, what am I supposed to be doing? So yes, there's a bit of a learning curve for that. But
Wow, yeah, that's crazy. Like I can remember what it felt like first starting out in Paragon, and like knowing nothing, and then thinking about how it ended up. It's like it is crazy how much I learned.
And it's like, and it changed so much over the time it was out too, because it's like it started out because like when we initially were playing it with that, it was only like that one map, and it was like the dunk mechanic for the prime orb and everything, and the harvesters and everything, and it's like by the time it was all said and done, and we were like, and it was like the cards and all this other stuff
Totally
going
different
on.
map.
And, it was like a completely different game by the time it ended. So I'm just like, well, that
It was just like strategically, like 10 hours in was when I understood the game strategically. It was like, oh, okay. Or like at its most basic level, it's like, oh, okay, so the reason I'm here is because another guy will be here and they're better. Like, it was just like all these things. And it's like at the very basic level, 10 hours in, it's like, okay, I understand now.
It's like,
And then by the end, it was like, oh, I know when I should run away from here and when I should, like, when people should be there and sort of like predicting where other people are going to be.
Like, and like knowing the different roles for the characters and stuff. It's like, well, this one's better at doing this thing than this guy, and then this one's better at doing this thing. So
like intuitive sense of like, oh, something is coming. I don't know where or who, but it's about to happen. It's just like it's great.
The combat stilettos.
Oh man, sad. Yeah, I think that I'm not really sure. Maybe it's just like I liked that one the best, and now that it's gone, it's like, well, I can't just go back to second best. I have other games to play.
It's like, you're garbage.
Myriad excuses, and just for some reason, haven't gone back.
Yeah, I think that one, like, because it was both complex and simple at the same time. It's like, cause it's like you can learn the basics of it to kind of know how it is and like have fun, but it's like in order to win, you need to like have some sort of strategy and stuff going into this, and making sure you're just not just like, going through the motions, because otherwise you're going to screw your team over, and it's like, LOLs, get good, scrubs. And then they're going to keep telling you to change your character until they see how amazing you are with them. So
my whole thing with like lots of multiplayer games is I will try to complement whatever the other people are doing, because it's like, well, I don't really want to be on mics with other people, but then I get this sort of sense of like, okay, I understand what you're trying to do, and then I'll try to like do support whatever it is that they're trying to do. And it's just like, there is no way I could have done that in the beginning, because I don't know what's going on. But by the end, I was like, oh, I think I have a really good sense of like watching what other people are doing, sort of learning what my teammates are capable of. And it's like, okay, I see, I get you. And then just like being able to coordinate with them without any communication. I was like, it's pretty cool.
I think another game, or not game, but genre, that I very early had another exodus from, or jumping off the bandwagon from, was free to play. Because I remember there was a time when we were experimenting with the whole SimCity Social, and like there's another free to play game, and then like I would just jump on every day on Facebook, and then like log in, and then be like, all right, let me play for however long, because after a while it's like, oh, you're out of free energy or whatever. Please give us money. And I was like, oh, this is the thing. This is what it does. It just lets you play for like 10 moves, and then it's like no more unless you give us money. And I was like, oh, that's how they get you, I guess. And you're not getting me. So I never paid anything. But then I was also like, well, if there's ever any game like this ever again, I am not playing it. So get the F out of my life, free to play games.
Oh my.
Or at least ones that are like turn-based and crappy and mobile-based like that anyway. I think that's also like why I steer clear of phone games, because that's my perception of like what they are. So it's like and why I call it the Great Landfill in the Sky of just garbage cloud games. It's just like, I don't need them because they're probably all terrible like that.
Because they actually have mobile games that are not free to play, that are just like actual games. But I mean, a good chunk of them are in fact those type of games, though. So it's like, well, you don't want to have to sift through them, so forget that noise.
That kind of free to play is actually, I feel like it's kind of over. I mean, they still exist, but
They're not
you know,
as
yeah, like the time period that we were playing that game in was sort of the booming era, and there was just so many of them trying to be Farmville essentially.
yeah.
And then, well, Facebook changed something, and then they're just like, "Oh, we can't make money like this anymore. It's over." I think
Abandoned ship.
I don't even know if Farmville still exists. Um, but yeah, the model just fell apart.
People started to wise up.
I still think SimCity Social was, if they had taken out the free to play stuff, like it would have been really fun. I actually think there is a game that is SimCity Social, but not on Steam now. That's just $5. So I will check that one out eventually. I think it's called The Islanders.
Oh my.
Yeah. Any other bandwagon falling off, jumping off stories?
For me, I can't remember like the era. I just know it was like the 90s, like all of the 90s, because towards the end I stopped
All of
playing
them.
that genre.
Whole decade.
Was like the like, I mean, not sports games in general, because like I do still gravitate towards the arcadey ones, like NBA. Wow, I can't even think about it. Even, or
Jam? Playgrounds?
that
Street?
that all those things. Basically that, and like the Super Mega Baseball stuff, where it's just like if a cartoony, exaggerated look, and it has like just pure
The Mario
gameplay.
sports games.
It's not very sim based or like realistic or serious, you know, like I'm not gonna play like Madden or 2K or anything like that. I mean, with these like new story modes that they're doing, I kind of want to try them, but like I just haven't had the time, because it's like I doubt I'm as likely to like that as I do like the actual story based stuff that I do like. So, but back in the day, every year I would ask my mom to get me Madden and NBA Live for Christmas, so I would be playing them every year. But then I just grew out of it, I guess, or just gravitated towards other things and moved on to other things, and played other stuff that was more engaging. Because I don't even know when the last time I played NBA Live was, but I have like so many memories of like in my childhood of like just playing this game like all the time, and I like never play them. It's just weird to me. Like it's not even like like it was like it used to be like one of my main genres, and like now it's like it's something I barely ever play. So just like I think that's interesting.
You grew up.
I think, yeah, it's like I think I played Final Fantasy 7 and changed my life forever, and I was like, oh wow, look at all this. Oh my, multiple discs.
What have I been doing?
What?
You mean games can tell a story?
Yeah, it's like that.
What?
I think that also has to go into the semi feud I had with Nintendo, when like I was down on them for a long time. It's just it's not that I don't like their games. It's just like it just took me a long time to figure out what about their things that like I like about them, and then everything else I have to just be like, no, it's dead to me, because after so much Telltale and BioWare and just like really good first party Sony stuff this gen, it's just like, man, that is hard to like come down from that and like go into a just whimsical, fanciful land of whatever, where stuff doesn't matter, and it's like, woohoo, we're going on an adventure of fun and whimsy, and just also Darkest Timeline. So it's like, I can't take this seriously. This is what's going on here. So it's just not grounded in reality at all. And it's just
Or
like,
maybe you
relate to
need
this.
that levity in this dark world.
And I have like a Switch and I haven't played it in like a year, so you know.
Oh, also that, I guess.
So it's like, maybe I'm on the one hand, I want to enjoy these things, but it's like I don't enjoy them as much as I used to, or the stuff that is like the the current stuff I'm enjoying that's more, I guess, graphically realistic, because modern is not the right word to use, and just like grounded in reality and stuff. Because like the analogy I like to use, like the Sopranos versus The Simpsons, it's like, when I've played the finales of 3 seasons of The Walking Dead and like stuff happens and people die and it's like, whoa, and that just like, that's something I will never forget. Versus just like the whole no consequence, no penalty, just like whatever whimsical, woohoo, happy times, woo, fun, yeah, jumping,
Status
collecting
quo.
coins. Yeah, like there's no status quo changes with the Nintendo stuff, so it's just like it's not it's like not something I've jumped off. Like I probably can like never jump off the bandwagon just because it's so fun to play those games. But it's like, I I guess it's weird. Like I still enjoy them probably as much as I used to, but it's like I don't gravitate towards them as much because of those reasons. So.
You already know Bowser's gonna kidnap Peach again, and it's like they're still gonna let him continue living
it's not
after
like
all
in the
of
process
this.
of like freeing the princess, like he's gonna like lose an arm or something and come back as like a Mecha Bowser or something with like one arm or something. It's like there's no continuity, status quo changes, so it's like whatever. It's
Or
just a
I don't
fun
know why
walk
they
through
don't
the
just
Mushroom
like
Kingdom.
lock him up in a prison and like never let him out. I mean, the guy kidnaps their queen like every 15 seconds. Like, guys, lock this dude up or kill him. Like, what's going on? What's going on, man? But I guess it gives the people of the Mushroom Kingdom something to do. They're like, all right, guys, it's
never a dull moment.
It's like, all right, guys, it's about that time again, because we need to spice things up. Peach assumed the kidnapping position, and then somebody get Mario on the phone.
All right. Any other stories, or are we ready to move on to weekly RRR?
I'm ready.
I don't think so. It's like I skipped Final Fantasy 15, but I'm not like off the team. I just didn't find it appealing what they were doing, so it's like. I mean, that
Shut
being
your
said,
stupid mouth.
also knowing it was named Versus and they just changed the title to like the numbered one, it's like kind of a cheat, kind of a cop out. So it's like,
I mean, it still was Final Fantasy to begin with. They just
not
They just-
satisfied.
changed the name because it's now a mainline one instead of not a mainline one.
I mean, there's a lot of stuff I'm like currently having issues with, but I'm not like completely off of like fighting games in general. I'm just like, I don't know. Since I'm all about games of story now and stuff, it's not as appealing because some of the stories are kind of weird and stuff. But then like the stuff they're doing with the storytelling, like all the NetherRealm stuff, is like the transitions where it's like no loading, so it's very seamless. So it's like there's evolution going on, so it's getting better slowly. But I'm not like so not liking it that I'm just off the team. So that being said, EA, if you make any moves on BioWare, you're dead to me forever. So
Oh my!
if that happens, because you forced them into this by not allowing them to delay their game and like fix it before you had to boot it out the door and just be terrible. Thanks. Oh,
Yeah.
games as service games, dude. Like that's. I mean, you said I wouldn't talk about it, but it's like I'm not gonna say anything. But basically, after my time served, if you will, in Destiny, kind of lukewarm on any game like that. I do want to try the Division though because it looks like it's mechanically sound, even though it is a grindy games as service game. But you can. I kind of feel like the rule on this is like you can only play one at a time. So it's like I'm just gonna move on. I think from Destiny to that and see how it is, and then. If it's not bad, I'll just be like, well, I'll just wait until the next one comes along. But never more. It's like the Sith, where it's like the rule of two. It's like the rule of one. No more than one at a time with those, because you just don't have the time. Because
I feel like
unless something changes, where it's like they don't feel like a job. Because that's why I just had to get Destiny out of my life. It's like having a second job, for real.
I feel like the Sith would do better if they got rid of that rule of two thing, because it's like the problem is this is why the whole trail thing happens, because it's like there's only like the one person, and it's like nobody to keep them in check. If there was just like a butt ton of them, then they wouldn't just be like, well, we can't create any power vacuums, so we have to be more careful, and we can't just go stabbing each other in the back, because if we do that again, said power vacuum is going to happen. So we should have like an evil committee, and then go from there. Because I mean, think about it. The Legion of Doom works more or less. Because I mean, otherwise they would have just all fallen apart if it was just like two of them. Because then they'd be like, "Well, I'm going to backstab you because I'm the better villain." It's like, "Well, no, I'm the better villain," and the next thing you know, it just falls apart. But this way, they kind of have checks and balances because there's a butt ton of them. So they should really get rid of that whole Rule of Two thing because it has yet to work out for them in their favor. So yeah, something to think about, Sith. Something to think about. I mean, you already have all the cooler powers. There's no point in killing each other off. So, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, thinking about it, I guess I'm not completely off of first-person shooters. It's just like they have to be doing something cool, or just be story-focused, or have some type of single-player threat and not be like a multiplayer-only situation for me to care about them. So, like, I haven't played Wolfenstein or Doom, but I have them. I just haven't played them. So it's like stuff like that where it's like, they actually tried and then just like Battlefront it with like, oh, here's multiplayer mode and like nothing else, and then Battlefront 2 is like, here's an okay single-player mode. So it's like I'm very, very picky with the types of games in the genre I will check out, for sure. But I'm not off the team yet, so.
Or are you?
Whatever. Yeah, I can't think. I mean, maybe Pokemon too, because it's just like they're all the same. So it's like, like,
Well, that's not
or
completely
similar,
true.
I should say, not the same. But I don't feel compelled to spend that time playing those because it's just like the same. With like, oh, here's your starter, and then you go and catch them and trade them, and then you go on to the Elite Four or whatever eventually, and whatever. So it's just.
That's not how Sun and Moon worked. But
Well, whatever.
I can understand what you mean, though. It's like, here, my child,
Like the Dragon
brought
Quest
into this
syndrome,
world
where it's
of
like
superpowered
I will
monsters.
play them, but just like not when they're like just out. 'Cause it's like, I've kind of had my fill. I'll just wait until it's like super cheap or something.
Yeah. Like Star
Or
Ocean.
when there's one that's different, yeah. Or when that's different enough that comes out, where it's like, okay, I'll try that because it looks neat.
Because French fries and integrity thingies or whatever is, oh dear, that game. Oh my gosh. Way too much going on. Just game's just all over the place. Just all over the place. Still need to finish that eventually, though. Probably never. Because, yeah.
All right. Well, then I guess we will move on to weekly RRR, rapid release responses. You get a title, you get 10 words of description.
Oh, I just thought one shot.
And
Sorry. Basically, all the Need for Speed games that are the not good ones, or like the ones that aren't story based. So,
Not good ones.
like before the one that came out recently, that was just Need for Speed, and then there was like another one that was like Hot Pursuit or something. That was like whatever, just gameplay of like whatever stuff. And like I don't know, it's very inconsistent over there. It's like it's basically depending on like what they're trying to do with like that specific one. If it's like the story focused one, yes. If it's not, it can go down a fire. So yeah.
Oh my. It's a bit extreme.
There's like the I mean, it is kind of just like it just turns into like the whole like wannabe Fast and the Furious, but it is a better experience than just like, oh, I'm in this game racing cars and whatever. I don't know. It's a game to game thing, It's kind of like how how like every other Star Trek movie is bad, but like it's like that. It's like you gotta just see if it's gonna be the one that's like the type of one that you like, or if it's just gonna be not the type of one that you like, and then go from there. So I guess I'm not completely off the team on that one. Just like the ones that are terrible, that are not the. I mean, that's the thing though. It's like if the presentation was better. Like, the live action one was weird because it's like, why did it have to be a live action cutscene that looks so weird? But then it's a fun game, so it's like that's weird. So however that works out, I guess. But maybe one day they'll figure it out. But then when they do, since it's EA, they just pump them out every year anyway. So whatever. Oh, I guess I'm off that train. The whole like annual game thing, like or yearly game, because like I remember when Far Cry Primal came out, and then no, it wasn't Primal. It wasn't the yearly thing that they did. It was the whatchamacallit, the tiered releases. That has killed a lot of games for me. Like I haven't bought a lot of games because of that. Like I haven't bought either of the Far Cry's because it's like, oh, or there's the XYZ version, or there's like a season pass with this game. So it's like Soul Calibur, I believe, did that, the newest one. So I was like, oh, you're dead to me. So I'm trying to like super cheap on Soul. So also what I do with NetherRealm games, because it's like they have that too, where it's like, oh, I could just wait a year or 6 to 12 months, and it'll be $20 with all the DLC. So you know,
The complete edition with the K.
the air quote complete edition or whatever Tropical calls it. So yeah, that
The actual release.
the actual release. Okay, I'm done. I'll just make a little list, and then I'll come back and be like follow up of the things I thought about. Wow.
Oh, dear.
All right. Our 10 word description. Most of the time, a truncated sentence. The title and occasionally the genre, and we decide if that is enough to make you interested in a game or not. So these are the games coming out over the next week for PlayStation 4. Starting on April 26th, we got Days Gone. At its core, Days Gone is about survivors and what?
I don't know. Are you asking me, or
Oh man, that's a
are you
funny
telling
description. I
me?
mean, I've already perioded it, so that's a bad description though. Survivors and what, you know? That's it. Can't wait to see it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know, man.
It's like survivors and things and stuff.
I don't know, because I don't wanna.
Okay. April 30th. First off is Fade to Silence. Fade to Silence is a survival RPG set in the cold.
I remember the trailer for this game. It looks interesting. I will probably get it eventually when it's cheap. Since I haven't soured on the survival genre yet, and I have not committed animicus on any of my friends in this game.
Haha, Animicus. Well, I like RPGs, so I mean, I think I'm interested by default, which it was smart for them to put that in their description. But it's the survival part that concerns me. Because it's like, am I going to have to animicus my friends? Is that going to be a thing? So,
Are there stealth RPGs?
no. I mean, probably. Let's hope not.
Next one is Fell Sea, Arbiter's Mark. Fell Sea, Arbiter's Mark. Oh, wait. Nope, that's right. Fell Sea. Yeah, Fell
what's
Sea,
happening now?
Arbiter's Mark.
Sky
On the second part, I wrote Seal. Maybe it is
Oh.
Fell Seal. Oh, now I gotta look it up. Anyway, is a tactical RPG that follows.
Tactical.
Ooh,
Tactical.
tactical RPG. You
That's all you
say?
can say for me.
How do you spell this game? Because you now have just piqued my interest, even though
Yeah,
you
made
said the
me think of
name wrong,
Final Fantasy 13
probably.
with, like the little C and whatever. All those
Yeah, when he
things.
said Fell Sea,
Well,
I was like, wait, what?
It's either Fell Sea, Fell, Fell. Sea is like an ocean, or it's Fell Seal.
But there's no L.
Just add an L to the end of that C.
Why would
Yeah,
you
I'm
just
not really,
add an L to it? That's not how that works, Tropical.
well, because
Like, it has an actual title.
it's like a typo on my part, but I don't know which one is wrong.
Wonderful. Just
Oh, it's Fell Seal.
Oh my
So
goodness!
the game's name is Fell Seal.
Get it together.
Arbiter's Mark.
I just want to point out that even though the description is terrible, all we have to know is that it's a tactical RPG, and we're ready to go because there's so few of them and they're so fun.
They're not.
You got lucky, Fell Seal.
Yeah.
Even though I mispronounced your title.
You're
Because
an endangered species type of seal that we can get behind.
Oh, that's dark.
And then Giga Wrecker Alt. Giga Wrecker Alt is a mixture of exploration and physics.
Uh, this sounds like work. I don't want to have to do physics.
Yeah, I sense puzzles or something pass.
Yeah, I don't like to do work, man. I don't wanna. So, no.
Alrighty. There were 2 games listed as having April release dates, but don't have actual release dates, which is kind of weird because we're so close to the end of April. The first one is something called Golem Gates. An ancient threat surges from the Golem Gates, and only...
And only what?
It sounds
And only what?
because it sounds like they'll be fighting golems or in the golems or in the gates. But I haven't heard this game, so I don't have high expectations of what you'll be doing when you're doing that, or how fun it will be when you're doing that. So pass.
Yeah, and the description was not, that was not good. They should have done a little bit better with that.
It's like you don't say I'll be in the golems like it says in the title. Thanks for nothing.
Every game this week has the title
In the description.
once or 10 words of the description. It will be especially egregious in the next one. Five Nights at Freddy's VR Help Wanted. Five Nights at Freddy's VR Help Wanted is a virtual.
Well, I already am not a fan of this series, so I have no problem passing on this.
Yeah, even if I was interested, now I don't even know what it is, so definitely not.
Some sort of jump scare thing, game, or scary.
I already have my creepy game to
and
play
it's in
right now.
VR, so it's like, pass.
I got my creep game already. I don't need it.
All right. Well, so there was one that we know what it is, and then Fell Seal, endangered species. So yeah, and to a lesser extent, Fade to Silence, survival RPG, because you have RPG in your description.
An enemy whose possibilities.
Yeah. So that's RR for the week. Come back next week for more new releases and see how well their 10-word truncated descriptions entice us. On to the news. Starting off, that Days Gone thing. So Polygon reports that GameStop is starting a new promotion called Guaranteed to Love It. It's basically, it only applies to Days Gone right now, but it's a trade promotion in which if you trade Days Gone back to GameStop within 2 days, you will get full credit for the game. So if you buy it for $60, and it only applies to the regular edition, so you buy the game for $60, and then I guess finish it in 2 days, you return it to GameStop, and they will give you $60 in-store credit.
This is a weird policy. It makes it seem like they're taking your money hostage, and like you could use it as like a high dollar version of like GameFly or something. It's like just play one game at a time, but like $60 a pop. So whatever, whatever floats your boat. But it's only new releases, and it's not all of them. So that's weird too.
Of course, it's not all of it's only Days Gone right now. So
Yeah, it applies to one game right now. This is actually really common in Asia. My brother, initially when he was in Japan, like he would who would buy a game and then quite quickly trade it back, and it would it's not like here. Usual GameStop is you buy it, and if you trade it in on that day,
It's
they
still
will give you half
if you're
or
lucky.
below. Yeah. In Asia, it is a lot closer to full value if you get it in early. Yeah, is this just them last gasp
They're kind of
tests?
grasping at straws at this point. They're just like, what is it about our policies that people don't like? Other than everything, we should try some new trade policies and see if that helps.
Because in this system, so they make money off of the sale, which is usually it's something like 17%, and then you bring it back, and then they give you money back, but it's store credit.
So technically, you never
lose money technically, but then if they use it on a used game, then I think somehow it's still a really good deal for GameStop. Because and in addition to that, then they have Days Gone used, which they can
to
sell
somebody else.
to someone else.
Wow.
So it might actually be a way to pump up their used sale inventory then, to kind of beef it up a little bit, so that way it's more games available used, so they can semi discount them as a used price, and then of course if you have the membership you get the discount or whatever, so then they can drive people to their stores to be like, okay, this is kind of a better deal for me because it's cheaper since it's used, and since GameStop obviously gets the profit from it because it's well, we're not giving our money to the people because it's not their game anymore because it's used, it's ours. So they're they're kind of artificially inflating their inventory.
Yeah. I mean, it's also most obviously it's sort of a way to combat digital, right? Because if you say, oh, this is basically Steam's return policy, which people are definitely taking advantage of. They're doing it with Days Gone, except guaranteeing that you will buy a physical copy, and then they will definitely have a physical copy used to sell to somebody else. So, maybe.
So there's a good chance you're going to see quite a few used Days Gone available 20 or 48 hours within its release date. So,
unless you live in my state, in which case you'll see them a month later.
Oh my! But and then on top of that, because I think their used policy for returns is a bit more lenient than the new game policies to begin with. So it's if you do happen to luck out and get the used version of one of these games that are part of this program, now it's if it's a short game, you can play through it and then just return it and kind of just repeat the process over and over again, similar to this policy. And then and they still get their used games, and you kind of get to play through a bunch of random crap. So there's also that.
RPG, they only want to guarantee what's it called? Guarantee to whatever.
True to our core promise, today's announcement is a testament that GameStop is committed to giving power to the players, and our Guaranteed to Love It trade promotion offers our customers the peace and mind of buying video games inside our retail stores at no risk, beginning with Days Gone next week. So they phrased it in a way that it's oh, you don't have to worry that this game is going to be bad, because you can open it, and then if it is bad, you can still bring it back within 2 days.
However, you're not getting your money back. You're getting credit to spend in our store, so technically we still have your money.
Yeah, it's the house always wins, haha, in this scenario.
Well, it'll be interesting to see where this goes, and if it expands to other games, then it went well. There is a new report about a new Switch, this time from Bloomberg, saying that a sort of lower end Switch focused on portability is coming out by the end of June, with another one that they describe as a modest upgrade coming out sometime later in the year. So this is the third report. The first one was Wall Street Journal, I think, and then Eurogamer, the place that I read a lot and use, said that they also have sources that are saying basically something like the 3DS to the new 3DS. And they've also heard that perhaps this cheaper Switch coming out before the end of June may not include a dock, even though it will still be dockable. So it's probably happening, but yeah, we still don't know exactly what it's going to be. Everything in Anthem is delayed. So remember that roadmap?
And I was like, dude, if something like that happened in Destiny, I would be so furious.
They released that roadmap, and it seemed like, oh, cool, there's all this new content coming out before May, and then now it's like,
LOLs. No, it's
yeah,
not.
we have been prioritizing things like bug fixes, stability, and game flow over the new features of Act 1. We set aside time for this work, but the reality is there are more things to fix and improve than we planned for. So yeah, everything is delayed.
Oh man, this just makes me think of like the only saving grace of having so much time in Destiny is I can just like stand back and wait for other games to like fail that are like trying to achieve the same results and be like, oh, you're gonna be one of those. Well, good luck with that. It's not easy and it's a lot of work and probably not gonna get there after launch very soon. But yeah, this is really bad, really bad.
It's funny to me because it's like,
I feel like
basically
it's like a constant churn of like negativity about Anthem ever since it came out. It's just like, why did it have to be this way? Why couldn't you just delay for like 6 months and this wouldn't have been a thing because they would have had time to like fix all this stuff that like is constantly being reported
Polish it a bit up.
few months. But no, he had to put it out so we could make profit for the quarter. Yeah.
Money, dear boy, money.
well, so this relates to the next topic too, which was a report came out that Epic Games behind Fortnite is experiencing epic crunch basically all of the time. People are working 70 to 100-hour work weeks.
Oh,
What?
God.
And the quote that I took from it was, marketing had made a promise, and so we were told that it had to be done. And so if you're not in Fortnite at all, like, basically the game is updated weekly. And apparently what that means is that they're just working all of the time
on it now.
Man.
and doing a lot of stuff.
This is like the complete, into the spectrum as far as like, if you want constant updates and constant content to your game. I mean, that being said, it's free to play, so it's like you're not really paying for it, but it's like, this is what you get.
But yeah, like this story and related to the Anthem thing, customers, we don't matter, right? It seems like we don't matter. What matters to them is like shareholders.
I would agree, because it's like they're just trying to get as much as they can before the ship sinks.
Yeah, because, like, I don't know of any gamers who, if faced with like a developer who's about to die from stress or whatever, and getting your update or getting your game on the promised release day, like, I think a lot of people would complain about that, but faced with the reality of like, oh, you are destroying these humans in order to get in order for you to get the game on time. Like, no one is going to choose to destroy those humans.
I might. But I'm a monster, so it's different.
Like, Anthem, right now, they are fixing the game, and by the time it's fixed, it will be the game that should have released, right?
Yeah, or that could
So-
have been if they could have just delayed it. To fix
Yeah,
the
it's like,
things that
why
are
didn't
broken.
why didn't they just delay it? And it's like, no, we need it now because, yeah, quarterly earnings or whatever. We need to answer to our shareholders, and that's just like, that is messed up.
Yeah, 'cause,
the big
100
super people
hours
came
of-
by the cake factory and they're like, "Look here, people. This is our line of cakes, and this is what we want. And we're not giving you
Cakes.
the time to make them." And then when the cakes come out and they're all lopsided and like weirdly decorated, and it's like, what's up with the cakes, cake makers? And it's like, well, you guys didn't give us enough time. Sorry, dudes. To use this
Terrible.
analogy of the cake factory or cake bakery or whatever it's called that makes the cakes.
We now know that the next game from, I believe they were called V Blank. They made Retro City Rampage. Their next game, Shakedown Hawaii.
Oh man, the
Is
trailer for this
arriving.
game is the best because it has like the announcer
looks-
voice that is like super serious, but like the stuff he's talking about is like so video gamey
Yeah.
and like out of context, like funny because it's so like ridiculous and inappropriate. It's just it's so great. I almost tweeted it out.
What you
So yeah, Shakedown Hawaii is coming out on May 7th. It'll be on Switch, PS4, Vita, and PC. And apparently a 3DS version is coming out at a later date. Finally, it was originally supposed to come out in 2017.
What? Wow.
Yeah. Square Enix has dated an E3 2019 showing. They're going to be doing a something June 10th
Going to be
at
doing a something.
9,
Wonderful.
9 p.m. Well, the speculation right now is that it's going to be, I mean, it's got to be, right? It's got to be their Avenger thing.
I saw gamers tweet about this. Did they actually have any information? Because he seemed to
No.
be going off the deep end, and I was like, this is exactly why people freaked out on the PlayStation Direct, is because there was not any beforehand tempering of expectations of like, it's just going to be VR dudes, and then like, it was VR crap, and people were like, that's what the last of us do, and cinema, and it's just like, whoa, where did this come from? It's like, well, when you don't temper expectations, people's imaginations get the best of them, and they take a ticket to Fantasyland, and they just drive the plane into the sun, and they're like, "Fantasy, this is what I want. Yes, Final Fantasy 16." I was like, gamer.
Wait,
Sit
what's happening right now?
yourself
It's like,
because
what's going on?
That ain't how that works, dude. That ain't how that works. 15 has been like having DLC and crap. I doubt, and like these games take like 10 years to make now or something. Like, it ain't happening. Like,
Wait,
chill
they
the
thought
out, man.
people think that they're gonna do a announcement for
Look
16?
at his tweet about it, and just like, it is ridiculous. And I was like, gamer, you need to calm yourself down because you are doing exactly the same thing that the PlayStation Direct people did when they were like, hey, where's my Last of Us 2? Where's my Tsushima? Where's my Death Stranding? It's like, whoa. A, it is not E3 time yet, and B, they did not say what was going to or not be in. I mean, sure, they could have did that beforehand, but it's like, do you really think they're just gonna like out of nowhere be like, hey, this is our first PlayStation Direct? I don't even know what it's called. That's why I keep calling it that. I'm sorry. And they're just
Yeah, I call it that 2-year fight.
Ooh, here's all the megatons. Yes, every time we have 1 megatons, it's like that's not sustainable or realistic. So
Yeah, because
Get a grip,
it's like a
yo.
lot to live up to every single time.
Yeah, there's no information. The only thing we know is that it's at 8 p.m. Central, 9 p.m.
we have
Eastern,
a time and
which is like,
even worse now.
that's,
I have to read it.
before that's when Sony would do theirs. But since they're not doing one, then, like, Square Enix's used to be, I think it was like the first day of the show proper
Yeah.
which made it like very difficult to watch. It was just like all the excitement had passed already. And I believe last year's was just not that exciting, or their 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 thing, because it's not really a press conference.
Yeah, it was just like a recap video of like everything. It's like, well,
Yeah.
you could have just put trailers up and let me live my life, man.
So, yeah, I mean, I think that's probably why people are excited. They're thinking, oh, it's in prime time now. Maybe it's going to be really awesome. And yeah, they do have a few things that they've announced that we haven't seen anything of in a long time. So maybe, but and namely that's like the Avengers thing from Crystal Dynamics, and then the Final Fantasy VII remake.
Oh yeah, that is still a thing.
Okay, here's...
Yeah.
Okay, maybe he was being sarcastic, but it says, if Square Enix is taking Sony's E3 conference spot, then that means they're bringing the big guns, right? Question mark. Final Fantasy 16! Exclamation mark. Kingdom Hearts 4! Exclamation mark. That Avengers
Okay, yeah, that's definitely not happening. So I think he was kidding. I think he was kidding. 'Cause that's definitely not happening.
Speaking of Kingdom Hearts 3 got a new free update. A tougher critical mode was released. I guess the other ones had this mode too.
Not all of them. A few of them did. It was introduced like fairly late to the series.
But yeah, somehow this one is different than previous iterations, and Nomura was not more specific than that. So I guess we'll have to see what it is.
Well, the details are it halves your MP and HP, and the enemies hit harder. Also, it reduces the frequency of the situational commands for both the magic and the attraction flows. And but it does give Sora a few new like abilities for context or whatever. And then apparently it's changed the AI for some of the enemies as well.
Wonder, that sounds kind of good. Just like for a regular playthrough. Like, oh man, the attractions happen so much.
They do happen a lot, yes.
Sega has revealed 10 more games for their mini console coming out in the fall. They are Castle of Illusion, World of Illusion, Thunder Force 3, Super Fantasy Zone, Shinobi 3, Streets of Rage 2, Earthworm Jim, Sonic the Hedgehog 2, Contra Hardcores, and Landstalker.
Contra Hardcore is all I
I
need.
know that one.
All I need is Contra Hardcore. That game, oh, so good.
You had me at Sonic 2.
This is sounding like a really good collection.
But RPG, don't you already have a copy of Sonic?
Sonic 2!
Also, it is called the Sega Genesis Mini, because I remember when I read about it, I was like, oh, it is called that. And we couldn't think of the name the last time.
Sega Genesis Mini?
Yeah.
Is that it? Okay.
In America, anyway.
Genesis Mini. November 13th, we'll see Microids and developer Playmagic release a remastered version of 13, which was a sort of cel-shaded style, I believe it was a first-person shooter, based off a Belgian graphic novel series that was released on PS2, Xbox, GameCube, and PC in 2003 by Ubisoft Paris. So that's pretty cool. There was a short teaser trailer of what that might be like. So go check that out. And then finally, Konami announced the rest of the titles coming out in the Castlevania Anniversary Collection, which will be $20 when it comes out on May 16th for PS4, Switch, Xbox One, and PC. It will include Castlevania 1, Castlevania 2, Belmont's Revenge, Castlevania 3, Dracula's Curse, Super Castlevania 4, Castlevania Bloodlines, which was on the Mega Drive, Castlevania, or Mega Drive is Genesis, right?
I think so.
Yes. Castlevania The Adventure, which was a Game Boy game, Castlevania 2 Simon's Quest on the NES, and Kid Dracula, which was a Famicom game that I guess they never brought over to the States. So that will be a first. Were all these amazing? I think Super Castlevania 4 was the one that people were like, yeah, I don't really know. For me, it was Symphony of the Night. That was when it got really crazy awesome.
Yeah, I'm unfamiliar with the series outside of Symphony of the Night and the DS versions.
So yeah, that is the news that I had. Was there
There was
anything
something
that you guys
about
saw?
the Switch getting achievements in the last patch, but I haven't played it, so I'm not sure how that works.
You know, did you see that on Twitter?
Yeah.
I saw that on Twitter too, and then I was very excited, and I kept checking for updates on my Switch, and then none ever, or one arrived, but it was just like a 0.1 update to the firmware, and I was like, what's going on? So I went back to Twitter to try to find that tweet, and I couldn't find it. And I'm fairly certain it came from Nintendo, and then it wasn't there. I was like, did they tweet that by accident, and it wasn't actually supposed to come out yet, and they deleted the tweet?
Oh, that would have been hilarious.
So, yes, I don't know what the deal is there. I last checked for an update earlier today, and there wasn't anything like that. So, I don't know. Maybe it's not real. I guess I haven't really looked into it any further than, the tweet that I thought I saw is not there. But now that you've said it, it's like, oh, it definitely existed. Because if it was just me, it could have been hallucination.
It's the Bernstein Bear effect again. Oh no!
No! I told my wife the other day, I'm really good at seeing monsters now.
What does it even mean?
Because, that thing I was talking about, I think in the next few years, VR is going to change us fundamentally. Because it's like that thing in science when they teach you about your eyes. And they they draw the light lines that go through the lens, and then they curve them, and then they say, okay, it focuses here, and then you see this. There's it projects an upside down image onto the back of your eye, and then your brain just flips it right side up, and then you see the world, and it's that is glossing over a lot of stuff that the brain is probably doing. It's just no, it just flips it over and it works.
It's all magic.
And yeah, just there is a lot of interpretation between the light hitting your rods and cones, and then you in your mind, whoever it is you are, whatever your consciousness is, actually seeing whatever it is you're seeing. And it's just so many things can happen in there. Interpretation can get really weird. And yeah, ever since I came to this realization, numerous times I've woken up to very, very startling images, and then thinking, oh yeah, this is just a brain thing going on. It's
This is just a brain thing going on.
It's I'm waking up, and in my half asleep state of mind, I'm seeing the smoke detector from a certain point of view, and it's combining with like the shadows of like the blood vessels in the back of my eyeball, and my brain is like, I'm not really sure what all this is. I'm just gonna make something up, and so it becomes like a red, one-eyed beast that has numerous different appendages, and it's just like suspending itself in the corner of my room. And it's just like, that is super creepy, but I know it's not real. Even though it looks incredibly real, but that's just because of the brain interpretation stuff.
I mean, when
I think
I think it looks like an egg that has like a monster in it that you can like see the silhouette of. But I'm like, there's not a monster in the egg, or is there? And I'm just like, maybe, but probably not.
Yeah, it's kind of like that, except
space kaiju.
I think that's why people claim to see the things that they claim to see that do not exist. It's like brain interpretation stuff, essentially. But it's all happening subconsciously. So if you're not aware of the brain interpretation part, then you're like, oh my gosh, like that, whatever that was real. And then, urban legends. It becomes urban legends.
It does become urban legends.
But yeah, I think VR is a really simple way to illustrate to people how easy it is to trick the mind. People are too sure of themselves because, like, I saw it, it's real. And I was like, well,
it's like that might not be the case.
Yeah, like when VR gets good enough and enough people go into it, it's like it's gonna change us. I think it's gonna change us, as in our species.
In a good way or bad, tentacles now making me paranoid.
You should be paranoid. You should be.
I think it will depend on who controls the message.
Great.
Like, we all observe the same phenomena, but then, like, whatever voice comes out, and people follow that one. Like, if it's a nefarious person, then it will be very bad.
Well, it always is. So there's that. There's that. No one ever has good intentions in these things, Tropical. You should know better by now.
No, this should be the next enlightenment. God dang it.
Nope.
Well, I'm gonna, before we go into another aimless tangent, thanks for listening. Follow us on YouTube and Twitch. Sorry, Twitch, my stream didn't work. In fact, this entire time for the past 2 hours, my computer has been frozen in the process of crashing.
Oh.
And so, yeah, I don't know what's going to happen. But, we got through the entire thing. I have an external recording device, so it all worked out. But yeah, going back to what I was saying, follow us on YouTube and Twitch, Twitter, and yeah, download the podcasts at, thanks to Too Mellow. Too Mellow is responsible for our new theme song. Oh, and you can find him at twomellowmakes.bandcamp.com. And you can download the podcasts at aimlesspodcasts.com.
So yeah, what Tropical said, check us out on the internet. Hopefully that was better than the untested time that we did last time, and our producer was like, wait, what's going on? So,
well, I didn't know you were doing sensual Tekken. You didn't warn me that was happening. Like, these are things we discuss before we do them. You don't just do them and just like, oh yeah, by the way, this is your life now. Sensual Tekken.
Anything to say before we start off RPG?
beware bathrooms, especially if you're in Japan.
Anything to say before we sign off? Tropical.
No, I think I'm good.
Alright, so yeah, until you see or hear from us again, Aimless Fabulously, we're now signing off. Hopefully the stuff works.